Are we all? Good evening, we'll go ahead and get started with the Winthrop Town Council for Monday, October 21st at 6 p.m. We have all councilors in attendance and we will be able to pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, if there's anyone in the audience or online, I would like to come up to the podium and speak online for public comments. This is that fast. All right, we will move on to item 161. The discussion and consideration of extended hours at the town office. Council has previously requested that we have a discussion. And is there anyone that wants to go into it? We'll start it off.
I'll start with that.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to this. I just, every weekend is a long weekend, with Fridays off. I was thinking, kind of coming from my original stomping grounds before I moved up here, Wednesday was always court day in Pennsylvania, so a lot of town offices were closed, even though that was colonial times. It proved to be very beneficial for the town to be able to, have one day mandated as a shutdown day and then work the other 4 days. So I'm okay with 4-day work week. I don't think it should be every Friday. I think that inconveniences a lot of taxpayers, from what I've heard. I've talked to other people.
I'll just give a little background real quick too. We did ask our town manager, and to put out a survey to the community, regarding schedules that would be more, conducive to helping out our community. So there's been some response as far as 4-day work weeks, for the town council with later hours. There have been some other proposed times, and our town manager has reached out to lots of towns across the state just regarding their current hours with other questions, how it's helped the community, how they incorporated it, how it's helped the employees, and then what some of the drawbacks are, what some of the positive feedback has been. And so based off of a lot of this information, we can turn it back over. So I know you just wanted to say something.
Yeah, based on, I've heard from people just on a little bit of posting that we've had on online, and I've got a few phone calls with some people that like to see Fridays, have the office open Fridays. I think it's important. We have a big community and growing, and business, business other than auto registrations, and there's a lot of reasons why people come up to the clerk's office or the town office from all the other offices. There's different people, contractors that need permits. There's all kinds of reasons why we should be open and available during the work week for the community. We are here to serve the town. Municipal staff is here for the taxpayers. They are here paid by the taxpayers. They're here for the taxpayers, and they need to be available for the taxpayers during the work week, is my opinion.
I'll go to James, and then Ian, Linda, and Aaron.
So I looked this all over and kind of thought long and hard on it. I just find it hard to do a 4-day work week and I've heard from people too, everyone that I've talked to was against this. And I try to keep an open mind, but as I looked over the data that you were going to present to us, Anthony, and I did my own research as well. A lot of the places that are closed aren't even open for 40 hours. So if you add all their hours they're out and they got a day off, they're not even open for 40. A lot of the towns are much smaller than ours. Some of the ones that are bigger or equivalent are open 5 days a week. Just thinking, it's volatile when we have a lot of holidays that we already do now, and Monday's off, and take Friday off, then you'll be on a 3-day work week. And then the other part, maybe think about this too, is productivity, and you kind of said it, when you said that, we're working in Belgrade, was it Nick and Deb worked up there? They said after the hours of X time, only one or two people came at those hours, so the productivity, I think is gonna go down. So I don't think we get anything out of it, and I think if the goal is to be there open or be more convenient for the taxpayers, then we kind of keep it the same the way it is. Or we fluctuate hours, I mean, and I'm open to be, from 10 a.m. to 6:30 on a Wednesday or something, we flex some hours. But they have the office be open to that respect. I just not willing to have the office be closed for an extra day as it is, gets limited, we have a snow day, it shuts down, and you have the holidays, I think it just makes it very, very difficult. So those are my thoughts, I've been thinking about it, and looking it over, I said, I just really, but the times that you look at the people that have off are closing 1 day or 2 days, they don't add up to 40 hours. You just sit there and do math, they're not available, it's less. So.
Andy?
Challenge trouble I get in. First thing they're gonna do is more or less agree with Jim. I don't know where that's gonna lead me, but it's okay. The other thing is, I made a phone call right next door to West Gardner. And they have about half of our population. They have one full-time clerk. That clerk works, I think it was Thursdays, comes in at 11 and works till 7 to take care of the after-hours stuff. And they don't have any problem, the clerk's not worried about somebody's wrong with them, anything like that. I don't know why we have to have 2 clerks all those extra hours, for one thing. Okay, for the other, it's this schedule for the 4-day work week is, and I mean, I'm not a stupid guy, but it's almost like rocket science, it's just the hours are shifting all over the place. And I don't believe in a 4-day work week to begin with. So, any input I've had from citizens did not agree with the 4-day work week. As soon as you do that, then elections are starting to do a holiday, nobody in town office. The 4-day work week, we shouldn't even be talking about it. I kind of thought that the last time we talked about this, that was a message that was kind of sent, and I was surprised to see it come up again in such a aggressive manner. I won't support a 4-day work week. I'll support some shifts. These we have 3 clerks, so there's no reason we could have one early morning and that person works 8 hours and goes home, and one late evening and that person comes in late and goes home. Simple, easy to figure out. No overtime involved.
I would be for a shift as well.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of a 4-day work week. I mean, if you wanna keep the office open, one late night and maybe take away from the, another day, maybe shorten that day up. I don't mind that, but I definitely, I think it should be open on Fridays. I agree with you guys. So.
Aaron?
So I looked at scope for quite a bit and then so say project back. The most recurring, or I guess I should say the most assisting feedback that I got was actually from people that don't live here full time. And they were concerned that a lot of times if they're coming out to register votes or whatever, they'll come up on Friday to get their, 3-day weekend and get that business taken care of. So they're really concerned that they wouldn't have that as an option. I'm not opposed to Mondays being taken out because I don't really see a lot of utility for Monday, to be honest with you, but and as long as that incorporated holidays took those into account. And later, because I have a hard time getting into the town office before closing at 4:30, so at least 1 day later, if we didn't end up going to the 4-day week schedule.
Like maybe a Monday or a Wednesday, something like that, and then, have another day where they.
Later or early. I would be open earlier too. But I think also, I want to hear the staff's point.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we have, one of our town clerks in the audience. I don't know if you'd like to come up and discuss any of the challenges, anyone?
So if I could just address a couple of things. So everyone's hyper-focused on 4 days. But let me be clear. I mean, we're still going to be open 40 hours a week, which is actually more than what we're open currently. with the schedule that we have. And so we'd be open 40 hours. And the reason for going to 4 days is simply so that we can have some hours pre-8 a.m., post 5 p.m. each day that we are open, so that it is convenient for people to access our services. Jim, I know you previously mentioned about concern about, well, first of all, there's no magic to Monday versus Friday. If you folks thought that Friday was problematic, I think Monday would work just as well. I was just,
Tuesday,
in this,
it's the middle of the week. If somebody misses the day the town hall be open, they can make it next day, it's come up and down, you're not gonna be 2 days missing something, you didn't catch it that day, but you have it on, it's on a Monday or Friday, and then you get it till late, you're not on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, you're not there till Tuesday. It just changes, I think you started it that way, and to your point, when you were saying though, and if the productivity goes down, because you said yourself, there's only 1 or 2 customers come in later times.
yeah, so
And not too many people are gonna come in for work, because they just don't have enough time to make sure to be in and out.
that has not been the experience in Belgrade though, because
But you wrote that, it was.
no, listen to me, Jim.
You said it was only 1 or 2 people came in after hours.
After 6 p.m. I'm not proposing any hours post 6 p.m. So I think that there is value in being open at least 1 day a week until 6 p.m. because so people can come. But the experience in Belgrade has been, since they've gone to 4-day work week and they open at 7 a.m., that they actually have more customers come in before 8 a.m. than they do after 5 p.m. on the days that they're open after 5 p.m. So, but to get back to the point I was making, I understand the concern about, well, if you have a holiday, if you have a snow day or something, but with this schedule, if you have a holiday and it falls on a day when we would normally be open, you're still going to be open 30 hours a week. If you have a holiday under a 5-day-a-week schedule, you're only missing out on 2 hours. I mean, you'd be open 32 hours and actually less than that with the schedule that we currently have.
Really, it's not
Yeah.
extra day.
I know, but what I'm trying to accomplish here is being more accessible on the days when we are open.
See what. Go from down for a while.
Well, I mean, we're open to all sorts of options and possibilities here, and that's what we're here to discuss. This is not,
Yeah.
Well, I think the survey, if we are to put out another survey, I think it needs to be not so selective with options. And I think that we need to agree on what's gonna go out for a survey as a council before the survey goes out.
so I agree with you, Roy, as long as the options that are put out there are achievable with the resources that we have. So the question has come up, why do we need 2 clerks at any one time? Well, as was explained in the memo, there are 3 different reasons. One is safety. So you need 2 people in that office. The other is internal control. So there is a lot of cash handling that goes on in that office. So the auditor would tell you, ideally, you'd want 2 people in there at any one time. And the third reason is customer service. And as was explained in the memo, a new vehicle registration is more involved than a re-registration of a vehicle. So that takes 20-ish minutes, depending upon the complexities of whatever the clerk is dealing with. It might take longer. So if you have 1 clerk available and it takes that clerk 20, 25, 30 minutes to complete transactions with 1 customer, and you've got 2 or 3 other customers standing in line waiting to be served, then, I would just submit that that's not great customer service.
Oh, no, I was just in the town office last week and both clerks were busy. One was handling a motor vehicle registration, which probably took 15 minutes. I don't know if that's a correct number, but the paperwork's never correct. They have to redo it, and then you had people coming up. I was going in for a dog license, and you had people coming up that were voting turning in their ballots, interrupting people, where do I put this? And the clerk was very accommodating, but they were busy.
So if I just add one thing to what Bruce just said, right now is exactly that, because we've had 1,300 absentee ballots that we've got to process. And if you have clerks who are helping customers with that, in addition to licensing dogs and registering vehicles, that's an awful lot for one person to try to accommodate it at any one.
The other thing too is, I mean, is this gonna be, are we setting an example for everybody else that wants to do 4-day work weeks in the town? And that's the thing. That's the other concern. Now you're gonna have other employees. Well, I can get my work done in this time. So why shouldn't we be able to do 4-day work weeks? I mean, I just think it's, and the thing is I think that this ought to be, I'm willing to, again, do one late night and then have the other night, day shortened, to see how that goes, but I'm unwilling because you're going down a path. And sooner or later, everybody's gonna want 4-day work weeks. And then what are we gonna say? We can't say they're good for one and not the other.
And well, I think,
I'm sorry, was that?
I said, got to be a ceiling benefits.
And again, the benefits are to the citizens. I mean, that's the focus here.
The premise that we're looking for more accessibility to the taxpayers to come in and get business done. Taking a day away, that doesn't add up to me as more accessibility.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It is if you have more hours before 8 AM and after 5 PM. I mean, because that's when most people work.
So I
So-
got a couple of things. Oh.
You wanna pop on in real quick? I'll give it,
Okay, so first of all,
You gotta vote.
back to the one, what's that?
you gotta vote for me, Lou.
Oh, sorry. Back to the, one clerk being on at a time, like we discussed the other day, if we have clerks that go on vacation, and that's the biggest concern, right? Well, if we have clerks going on vacation, we discussed the other day, there's 2 hours a day right there that the clerks by themselves. When one goes on lunch and when the other goes on lunch, and there's not 2 clerks in the office.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. And there's been plenty of times where I've been at the window,
There's been one.
and there's 2 clerks in the office and 1 at the window. And people behind me sitting there, so I mean, I understand the concern, but there are times that when that's not how it's run.
All right, so to follow up on that point Linda made about, if we do this for the clerk's office, we could get pressure from other town employees. Okay, I have found in my direct personal experience as a supervisor in construction, that if it can be avoided, we won't go over 8 hours. Because after 8 hours, people start getting tired, they start making mistakes, they start getting demoralized. 410s just never works. Okay, by that 3rd day, people are pretty well worn out, they miss supper a few times. I'm not in favor of this 4-day work week. That's always good.
James and then Karen.
So. I just wanna kind of, I looked up this schedule and I kind of, nobody's told me this, but I think personally for myself. I'm not early in the mornings before I go to work, it's really a hard schedule, I don't typically people do that, I think it's more in the later hours, and people just stay late and stuff open up early. That's one thing, the other piece of it is, I know some are open on Saturdays for half a day, and to Linda's point, I'm open to be closing half a day on the week to. It's flexing hours when we do that, we mark that, I know you chuckling up there, but. It is downtown in the paper, it's fun, you can show one day, you can show it all, right? So there are some on there that are showing Saturdays that they're open, but I just.
Well, I'm not in favor of Saturdays myself, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just saying, if you're trying to be.
right.
I mean, if devil's advocate, if you're gonna play this card, you're also gonna play that card. So I'm just thinking, I just don't think the productivity is there. And then when you're doing it a lot like this, okay, people are sticking to work on a business stuff.
Yeah.
I don't get to be plans for that work was people panicking about not having a day in town office to go to do business that they need to go do business. That's what I agree.
Again, I think, I am not opposed to a 4-day work week. Again, Monday was the day that was sacrificed, if you will, because I do think there's value in the later hours, because I experienced that myself. I do think that there has been recent literature published that shows that a 4-day work week is just as productive, if not more productive, if we want to use evidence-based criteria. And then also, to speak about the other town employees, we have other town employees that already work shift work that usually encompasses either 4 10s or 12-hour shifts. So I don't think we can stand on that. But ultimately, I do want some public feedback in some official either survey or some feedback that represents a better cross-section of the citizens, so we have something to act on. But again, I personally, I have no problem with 4-day work week, but I do want to hear other people's points of view in town.
And I agree with that. Again, going back to the survey, as far as what we would be going for, from what I'm hearing is the open 5 days of the same schedule. Open 5 days with 1 flex day, open 4 days, preferably what day off?
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
I would be up on Wednesday, but then we have a lot of
Is there any other input on that?
I would either or, I think the
What-
question
for-
should be either.
what
or.
is it
Like,
for?
like, I think it depends on all, are most
Like
of
if you
your.
did a 4-day, which day?
Your recognized holidays, aren't they Monday, though, Anthony? Oh, does it?
Yeah, you get your Labor Days and your Memorial Days and President's Day and
Does Wayne do that? Like all?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, I didn't say.
If you-
Veterans Day. Well, Veterans Day was.
In Mondays, there's a lot of Mondays off anyway, maybe it wouldn't have such an impact.
But as long as, I wouldn't be up for, if a holiday fell on Monday, I wouldn't be okay with that being taken up on Tuesday.
That's the way the transfer station does it, right? Am I wrong?
Is that what we, no?
Yeah, but the thing is, here's the thing. If this falls on one holiday day, that's not fair to the other employees in the town that they're not getting. They have to only work the 3 days and they're not working 4 days.
Well, listen,
I mean,
So-
you're gonna have a situation where that it falls on the holiday. And so they're only working, they only could be open 4 days a week. So if one of those days is on a holiday, then essentially what Anthony was saying, it's 30 hours. So now where's everybody else working? They're all working 40 hours and these guys are working 30 hours.
This is just for the administrative office, right? So.
Yeah,
And technically now.
That's not okay.
I don't even know if we should have. To be honest with you.
Well, we're not putting anything in place.
we're not putting this is,
Right.
yeah, we're fine with that. I mean, we're talking about a schedule with the office in there. And I think that if it falls on a holiday, then these guys are only gonna be working potentially,
No,
but you can't have it count as sick day because it's gonna have to pay overtime or you're gonna have to designate, they get the holiday off. So it's a huge problem, I think, 10 weeks out of the year.
Susan,
Same with the survey, and we have the 5 day stays. Left. Open 4 days, and then.
Yeah, and there's a schedule on there that was kind of neat that they were photo. I think Leeds is open and they're open up at 12:30 on Monday and close at 8:30, and then they close at, they're open at 8 AM on Friday and close at 12:30 on Friday. So
Yeah.
it's to your point, you wanna flex it, but it still gives people who know that the town office is here for business every day, that they can get here. And that's again, I talked with a bunch of people, but kept my personal thoughts aside, but this is what they were telling me, what they were thinking, and they really felt constrained that the town office was gonna be closed for a day.
So are we gonna give, well, how many questions are there and what are it's gonna be the flex time?
We're trying to decide.
Right, what I would do is just say, what is your preference?
Yep.
All 5 days a week,
4 day.
4 days,
Time.
or flex, with 1 day, whatever.
1 week.
That's what, I would just have 3 boxes, check one. easy,
Maybe include a write-in option on the listserv.
Yeah,
they
that's
provided
fine.
back. Livermore Falls said that they opened it up to the community with, I think, 3 options and then a write-in option.
Yeah.
And it was good because the community was able to give that feedback. I think I would encourage them when we put out the Survey Monkey to direct them towards this memorandum that has a lot of information. It lists pros, cons for both community or municipal staff. I think that that's important. And just to allow people to read through it, there's a lot of information in here. And then just to gauge everyone across the town to get that feedback.
now, when they put this, in, are they putting their home email in there? Or how does that work?
No.
I think it just goes per computer. I
Yeah.
don't think they have to put.
But it's per computer, it's not like 5 people or 1 person can do
Yeah.
like
It's
5,
per IP address.
okay.
So,
So-
one of the options, I kind of like the idea of taking, I don't like the idea of putting 2 people on when we only need 1, okay? So I would see an option where one morning we open early and that person goes home early so that they have an 8-hour shift. Okay, and then I would see another day where that person or a different person, right, comes in late and goes home late, so they have an 8-hour shift. Fairly simple, straightforward arrangement. One person, and that I would agree with.
So to make note that would this be a test period for this, where we would revisit?
So I think before we put out a survey, because we are constricted to, by some extent, to the collective bargaining agreement that we have in place, because the schedule is dictated in the collective bargaining agreement. So what I'd first like to do is talk with the office staff just to ensure that any of these agreements, if the community were to say, yes, this is what we want to do, that's something that the staff is going to be agreeable to do, because if not, then it becomes a non-starter until we negotiate a new contract. Does that sound reasonable to everyone?
Yes, but the other thing is again, you cannot have them working less hours in that week when you have a holiday. That's not fair to the other.
Linda,
What,
so listen to me.
what?
All of the departments are very clear-eyed about this. The police department knows that they're going to be working 24/7, 365. Same with EMS. And Public Works already does work a 4-day work week during the summertime. And again, that's dictated. Nonetheless, when in the summertime, they are working a 4-day week. Now, they get compensated for their overtime that they put in, either with paid overtime or comp time. But they do work 4 10s from sometime in May until sometime in October. So, I mean, everyone, and you saw the email that I forwarded to you previously from Richard Thornton, who endorsed this schedule, but said regardless of what the town office does, the library is not changing. We're going to be open 6 days a week because that's the nature of our business. So everyone sort of understands what the nature of their business is.
How the kind, it's like 36 hours, so they go down. Like,
So under the union contract, those employees have an opportunity to either be paid for their work on the holiday or to take a flex day on some other day.
The 7 to 4. So it's-
Yeah.
They go in, I thought they clean it one day, they clean up.
They do.
Okay, that's what I thought.
They do. Yeah. So, and so I think, at least in my mind, it's important when we offer an option for 4 days that we say which day the office would be closed, because in some people's mind that might make a difference. So do we have thoughts as to how we navigate that question on a 4-day work week?
I guess I wasn't very clear. I am not gonna vote for anything that exempts. Here's,
Yeah, that's the.
Well, that's what I'm saying, for a day, which do we want to agree on a day, if it were a 4-day work week, present Wednesday?
Okay.
Wednesday.
You know, I seem to recall we may have done this once.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking back, way back. And I'm like, I seem to recall that we tried this. I can't remember though, and it, whatever it was, it didn't work. So
Well, I will
I
say,
seem to remember that, and I can't, again, it's been so long.
so I will say that this is no longer cutting edge, that a lot of communities of all sizes across the state have done this, and of the ones that have done it, only one has actually reverted to a 5-day schedule that I could find. So there may be others. And Andy, to get to your point, all we're trying to do right now is decipher what we want to put on a survey so that the community can tell us what it is that they would.
My guidance that I want to survey, is not put something survey on my foot. There's no way I've ever gonna support 4-day work.
So
You
we've
can
got,
survey it from now to Tuesday, it's not gonna change my mind.
so we've got the
I
two
changed the
open
letter.
days, same schedule, one flex day, open 4 days with Wednesdays off. And a write-in option, but first we've got to engage with the collective bargaining agreement.
Well, I would like to have on there, not necessarily set it to just one flex day, maybe we wanna go two.
Despite some of what we've heard here tonight, I'm not comfortable with having a clerk working by herself.
It would be two.
Be still be two.
Come in at
Let's come in at 10 and close at 6.
Shut the office right down. till
Okay.
10 o'clock.
Okay, so I'm sorry, okay, that I better understand, because what we were talking about the other day, Roy, was open 7 to 6 and and if you do that, you are gonna have clerks working by themselves at the beginning and end of the day every week.
Survey, of course.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna discuss the same thing.
Question, for one of clarity, so what does this impact? Are we just talking like for front end? I would imagine this would
Yeah, good
encompass,
question.
I would imagine this would encompass Deb and Linda,
Yeah.
Martha.
See, I thought we're just talking about the
Or we just
clerks.
talking about clerks.
We're just talking about the clerks at this point. That's what I'm saying is if you start doing one, you're gonna have to do them all at some point, I think, potentially.
Point was it's still 40 hours, if they wanted to work 40 hours in that manner, I don't see a harm. In my opinion, I'm just saying that for all the staff, I don't like treating the front different than the back.
Well, the other thing too is for codes, is that gonna impact what you
That
do
was my question.
in terms, I mean, if there's somebody that's only got a Friday open and they need to have something done,
Like I said.
that's where I'm saying is a lot of this stuff is gonna be,
Speak.
Yeah,
I don't see that code, so we're just talking about the clerk's office.
in my.
Same thing for general
but-
I thought we were talking about the clerk's office too, but apparently.
Not GA, not codes, not.
Oh, I don't know if that's been working, Mark, I've been listening online.
It's on, I had it on. Wasn't just, I mean, I can speak loud enough if we have to, so.
We just.
Yeah, it's for,
Oh, it was.
but it wasn't working the other day when I was listening.
There you go.
Just saying, I mean, I'll tell you, my office actually worked 4/10s. I mean, 4/10s when Beth was here. And it was perfect.
Yeah.
It was perfect. She worked Monday through Thursday, 4/10s, and there was no complaints.
Like back when she was in that small building down there, right?
No, when she was here. When I first came here in 2015, prior to that, she was working 4 10-hour days,
Oh, okay.
What day off?
Fridays.
Really, Fridays?
You're gonna hit or miss no matter what you do.
Yeah.
I, as a taxpayer, will tell you, having a 4 10-hour day, having the availability to come in the morning or the afternoon or evening is much better than having these hours that are half one day,
I
not
would
a day.
never remember. Well, it's not gonna
It's
change.
just, I know what you're saying, and you're talking about benefits and perks, and it's not, it's a retention, you know what I mean? I work 7 days a week at the fire department. 365 days a year, I don't get a holiday, I don't get a holiday pay when we have a fire call on a holiday. EMS, they don't work 5 8-hour days, police don't work 5 8-hour days. The public works, obviously in the summertime, they're working their 4/10s. At this point, Deb is working 4/10s, it works, it's a viable option. Those that may not be able to get exactly everything they want on a Friday, they can do things online. There's so much that they can do online that having not doing 4/10s because you feel like it's like a super benefit is not an exact answer I talk to a lot of people. I'm not a counselor, but sometimes people think I am. I'm not a counselor, but I talked to a lot of people when this survey came out. And they were actually for the 4 10-hour days. Everybody that I talked to, except for one person. And they weren't sure because they were unclear of exactly what we were asking, but ultimately, everybody that I talked to said 410 is a perfect scenario where you have mornings and evenings.
Okay.
I would argue that 410s is a huge benefit when you get in 3 days, basically a 3-day weekend.
But if you,
It's not probably, I'm telling you right now, most people, if they could, that is a huge benefit, huge
I
benefit,
didn't say it wasn't, these also say that.
right?
Yeah. The question is, are we talking about the whole town office being closed 1 day a week? Or are we talking about just the front office being closed 1 day a week?
I have to think more about it, Jim. I mean, frankly, I did not know that codes had worked 410s before and that it seemed to work. And so that colors my opinion about how this might be able to work.
The only reason why I was changed was town manager at the time felt it beneficial that I be here 5 8-hour days. I don't see that.
Right?
I'm done. Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
So this affects me directly because it was my office. I don't care if I work 5 days or I work 4 days. Either way, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care if I have Fridays off. My husband works 4 10-hour days. He works 4 16-hour days sometimes at his job. He has Mondays off, so Fridays off isn't a benefit to me in any way. But a rotating schedule does make a problem for me. Because me being one of the only 2 clerks on takes away from the time that I have to do administrative duties that I have to do, that I can't do while I'm waiting on the front counter. I have elections, I have reporting, I have so much stuff I do behind the scenes that if I am on the counter for 2 or 3 whole days at a time, I don't get done. So that's not really an option for me and still get my job done every day.
Would it affect you coming in, say, tennis, not not rotating schedules? Every week coming in, say, 10 to 6:30, 2 days a week.
That affects my family time, and yes, I don't personally want that schedule. Because my husband goes to work at 11:30 every night. The only time I get to see him is from 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock. So me personally, that is not a benefit to me, and that's not something we want to do.
So that half hour between 6, we're talking those same 2 days, you're gonna be there till 6 anyway. We're only talking about being there another half hour.
Right, but you're talking about not having any extra time off either.
It's no extra time off than what you have right now, so this is what.
Right, but I'm home at 4:55 right now.
Right.
And that works for my family. So if we have to work 5 days from 8 to 4:30, that's fine with me. We'll just leave it the way it is.
I'd like to make a motion that we table, item 161, discussion and consideration of extended hours at the town office until we get a survey completed and some more input from a constituent.
Second,
And to be clear, I was not looking for a decision tonight, just agreement on what we want to put on the surveys.
Just clarification.
Oh, I'm sorry. We almost forgot about Sandy.
Yeah, that's all right. I would be there if I could, but I can't, so I'm here. I have a couple questions. So what did the survey show that came in, that people wanted 5 days a week or 4 days a week?
So we didn't get that many results before we turned it. More people were interested in a 4-day schedule than a 5-day schedule. And we offered 2 different options on the 4-day schedule, one with a Friday off and one with a Monday off. But of those, we had more supporting the 4-day than the 5-day.
Okay, so my next question, I was trying to remember here is, I do know that by quarter of or a half hour before, you don't do registrations anymore. So would that still be that at a 4-day week? Because if that's the case, you're only there an hour or so longer than a normal day. And if you're still gonna not do registrations a half hour to 15 minutes before you close, you're really not having a whole lot of time and after hours to get what you need done for the people that come after 5.
So Sandy, that is true only of a new registration because they are so time consuming.
Okay, so, and when they were just talking about the perks and benefits, of course, it's a perk to work 4 days a week. But in reference to like the police and the ambulance crew, they also work holidays, which the town employees don't. You know, it's more set to a medical schedule. And when the clerk was talking in regards to hours, I mean, if you're working 4 10s, you're not gonna be home until 6 anyway, correct? So you're working 4 nights till 6, which would affect family time. If you worked just 1 or 2 nights until 6, you'd be home early more nights out of the week. So I guess that confused me a bit when, if there's an issue working past in the evening, then why are we having this discussion anyway? Because if you work 4 10s, you are going to be home late 4 nights out of the week. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Follow it.
Can I say something?
Yes, first.
So, I know that people think that this is a real benefit to the employees, and maybe perhaps it is. But I also see it as a benefit to the customers because it is, regardless of, sort of what we may personally think of 4 days versus 5 days, but it is viewed as a preferred schedule among employees. And we have a vested interest in retaining and attracting the best clerks. I had Nick and Sarah talk to Roy and to Shannon last week because I wanted them to get a sense of sort of what goes on. Because when you're standing on the opposite side of the glass, it looks pretty simple than when you're actually behind the glass and doing the work. And our finance director, who previously worked as a deputy clerk, Nick Poole, said it took him 6 to 12 months before he felt comfortable doing a new registration by himself. And so again, we have a vested interest in both retaining the clerks that we do have so that we don't have to train someone else to do that. Or if, God forbid, one of them should decide to leave, to hopefully have an experienced clerk come and join our staff. And we have a better opportunity to attract that sort of skill and talent level.
So can I finish my point here is that you're worried about attracting these clerks make a significantly more amount of money than clerks in the area surrounding us. So that in itself is a perk that most people that work at town offices don't get. They have insurance and they make a lot more than an average clerk does in surrounding towns. So to eliminate a workday, this is a service position for the customer. I've grown up in a family that's done all service for business, and you have to be there for the customer. Closing down 1 day a week is not being there. It's like owning a convenience store. You have to be open on convenient hours. Shutting a convenience store 1 day a week does not help the bottom line for anyone. In this instance, it doesn't help the people in this community, because you're there to service them, and 5 days a week is what it really needs to be. I'll say no more, but I just feel like if you, a survey out to the town, if you're not getting the response, you really should, instead of doing it again, you should find another way to reach the community to figure out what it is, because I don't think everyone understands how it will affect them, because it's only 7 to 8 is a difference, and from 5 to 6 is a difference. I just feel like we're spending a lot of money, and if people don't like the hours of their job, then that they're free to find a different job and somebody can replace them. But at the pay these town clerks are getting, I think that it's fair to say that that is quite a perk compared to other people who would say they would jump in that Winthrop Town seat in a heartbeat to get that kind of pay. And I'm not saying their work isn't hard, because it is, and dealing with the public is a nightmare, and I get that. But I don't think taking a day away is going to make that any easier to deal with the town after a 12-hour day or a 10-hour day of being there. So that's just my food for thought, Matt. Thank you for letting me talk. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So Anthony, just so when you do put up a survey, I just wanna make sure we're clear. We're not talking just front office, we're just talking, we're making sure that the office. So is that your proposal or is that the proposal? I need to make sure, are you thinking more on it? Because I think that needs to be the survey.
Clarify.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's gonna get awfully complicated, Jim.
Pick one or the other.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Is either
The
you're
survey.
choosing the whole office or you're just choosing the front office?
Again, I'm gonna have to talk with more staff, about
Because I just
it.
think I thought we were talking about the front office.
So did I.
I think that's, some of us were thinking that here, so I just don't know if the GA, if being the availability. of
Well,
Other people, I mean,
yeah, so GA is available 24/7. So there are provisions for if someone has to file an emergency GA application. And so with those applications, you need to have an interview. And so you actually have to make an appointment
okay,
for that interview.
saying, I wanna be clear to, survey, you're talking about the whole office, they talk about the front office.
Okay,
So next is Andy and Linda, and then we
Yeah,
have a
just-
motion on the floor, so.
Maybe, you know, when I listen to Sarah, it would really, complicate her life if she ended up working 4 or having to work overtime. So why don't we separate the clerk's position? I'll never support the whole town office shutting down for a day. But why don't we separate the clerk's position from the assistant clerk position? Sarah works the normal hours, okay? And the clerks, you know, hopefully we can find a clerk that will volunteer to come in late, come in and stay early. I mean, and I don't know if the union would even object to that, as long as it's on a voluntary basis. And that might be a simple solution.
The other thing too is if you have the whole entire office, the administrative part of this, only works 4 days a week. What happens with budget season if we need
Yeah.
to have the Nick come in, if we, God forbid, have a Friday or Monday or whatever meeting, and he's only, what happens in those situations? That's, you've gotta foresee that, and that's the other thing too, it's gotta be completely understood that town business comes, it's not gonna come at an expense. So, I mean, again, you're limiting, the whole staff potentially, if you do that with a 4-day week, there are instances where we may need these people here.
Yes, and if we don't do this. Would be acceptable to the collective. And then. Putting forward some other, a survey, is there something online, question?
Oh, the other thing I wanted to ask.
I do. I have, when you were talking about that, and a good example would be this voting period coming up. We vote on Tuesday. If everyone's off on Monday, how do you prepare the day for Tuesday? What do you do about that?
so it is important to keep in mind that the salaried positions, we meet at your pleasure. So if you want to schedule a meeting on a day off, we come. Nick and I both come from a place where we do budget hearings on the weekends, on Sundays. We just came in and we met on those Sundays. So that's just the nature of these jobs.
And one more thing. When you send this Survey Monkey out, it's gonna be on our website, correct? How are you gonna, okay, so the other thing too is, would it make more sense to have something, people walk in voting? Like a table with a sign that says, please vote,
Maybe have a link, so that way they're,
Yes, yes.
something.
so that way. Collecting feedback, we have a community survey out right now,
Put that phone in.
please engage.
Can you do that? Can you use your phone and do that
Yes,
thing?
yes. So
Why don't we do that out there?
yes, so we can do a QR code, but
Yeah.
I would resist doing paper surveys.
That's fine. We could do a QR code right there, just with a big sign saying what we're actually asking.
But there's still other clarifying information that we need to do.
Oh, yeah, I don't expect we'll have this survey done before November 5th,
Why?
because there's still homework to do.
So can somebody explain to me how you would do an election situation if you had Mondays off?
I would assume they will set up on the day prior.
Well, if I'm understanding the council correctly, that's not actually an option on the survey, at least at this point.
Yeah, when,
Yeah,
Suggested motion to table,
yes,
and
yes.
so all in favor to table this item pending further information? All in favor? Oh, thank you. 7-0. All right. Thank you very much, Sarah, for coming in, and for Mark
Thank you, Sarah.
stepping up and talking about it as well. Items 156, discussion and consideration of the bylaw for Union Comprehensive Plan and Implementation Committee, table from the September 23rd, 2024 meeting, table from the October 7th, 2024 meeting. Is there any questions from the council?
Yeah, I think that we need to solicit people for this committee. I think that when we solicit the people, we do not need to mention that they have to have any particular experience or qualifications, merely be citizens of Winthrop. And then once all of those folks get together, they can decide themselves what their regular meeting, public meeting night is gonna be.
So do you want to change the residents to stakeholders or? Oh, I mean,
I think you're just talking with any for that house.
Yeah, so to be clear, there's no prerequisites in that regard. Yeah. And it was never part of it. It was never part of it. And the reason I'm suggesting that we set a meeting time and date and then solicit members is to make sure that we solicit members who are going to be available on that meeting time and date, because your town manager learned a valuable lesson from recruiting 10 different people to serve on the Downtown Revitalization Committee. And then trying to coordinate 10 different schedules to come up with a meeting date has been disastrous. I mean, we're gonna have to reboot that committee because we can't find a time when they can all meet. So that's the only reason that we did that, so that before people even submit their application, they know this is gonna be the time and date when they're gonna meet, so that it works for their schedules.
Well, I am gonna be argumentative, but if you have a committee and you have 7 people and 5 can meet on a specific night, you know, if you have a quorum, the meeting can meet on a specific night and 2 can't, then you put out an ad for 2 more committee members that can meet on that night. But give them a chance to organize first.
Well, I suppose we could do that. I'm just hoping to avoid the mess that we're about to have to fix with the Downtown Revitalization Committee, with all the different schedules that just.
We can
didn't
do
work.
the same thing there, Anthony, just tell them to vote, and whatever they come up with on a quorum, that other people can't make that meeting, then we'll have to look for new members.
Well, and that is what we're gonna have to do.
Yeah,
I mean, can we put it in the application that you must be available at Tuesday at 9 o'clock or 7 o'clock PM?
I mean, that's what I was proposing to do.
Just a quick clarification. Revitalization, committee, it's great, and some people want to be part,
Right.
you know, I think that's awesome. Was there any like willing to like step down, maybe join it, and try to reduce that number? I don't know.
You just said the 10 people, it's just getting.
No, I know you did, I just was wanting to reduce, you know, ask 3 people to step aside, and thank you, we'd love it, but maybe you're on a different case, so keep them in place. Players in place to.
Yeah, I mean, we will do that. To date, I don't think we've had 1 meeting where more than like 4 people showed up.
I just had a thought in my head, I just wanna make sure.
didn't we just do a bunch of committee rules that says all the committees are gonna be 7, all standing committees? Where did I get that?
Yes, I thought we had a revision because of the Conservation Committee's inability to get 7 members to secure. They sure us of 5, but they.
So we did have in the charge or bylaws for the Downtown Revitalization Committee, because we were trying to have certain constituencies represented. We did have more than 7 for that particular committee's bylaws.
More, 7 with the residents. So that to me speaks to the fact that there's flexibility.
So if we have 7, they can meet on a specific night. And others that want to be part of the committee can't meet on that night, then they're not gonna be part of that committee. It's just, we just can't
requirement.
keep going over and over this stuff and,
Start,
you know,
that's, I think, our purview. When it comes to us, there's a problem, and we
yeah,
take
you
that.
know, and if we like with with Jill's committee, we overstepped and there's just no way we're gonna make that many. Okay, we can make an adjustment. With the 10 people, we overstepped, we're gonna make an adjustment, we're gonna go back to the rules that we already set. That's all.
I think, Roy.
We have to make decisions.
I move to approve the bylaws for the standing comprehensive plan implementation committee as with the.
Second.
All in favor?
Can we have discussion?
What do you want to discuss?
I'd like to see the Robert's rules thing taken out of there. If you've ever been in an argument about what Robert's rules mean, you probably wouldn't want anything to do
Wouldn't the rules already that you're working on apply to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that we fill into that portion.
Yes.
it. Okay,
The governance.
Yeah,
or whatever.
governance, yeah, that's rules and regulations.
okay,
It's
that's
just
good.
to get started.
So I have two follow-up questions. Andy, how did you vote?
I didn't get, well, I asked for conversation.
It was a halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was, yeah,
Okay,
I'm good.
okay. And then the second thing is, I don't know that I have clarity. Do you guys want me to set a meeting date and then solicit members? Do you want to solicit members and then set a meeting date?
Then the expectation up front.
So.
Yeah, just set a meeting date.
The problem was it's too late.
And if we have a plethora of applicants, you can always direct them to a few of the open committees that we have.
What meeting dates, what it, you like the?
Like the third Thursday of the month at 6:30 or something.
Well, the other question is, we haven't heard much from the appointments committee, and don't these applicants have to go through the appointments committee?
We haven't solicited any applicants for this yet,
So
so.
let's get going.
First.
All right, so item 157, discussion and consideration of updating and amending chapter 5 of the town of Winthrop personnel table from the October 7th, 2024 meeting. This is going over chapter 5, which addresses conditions and benefits for municipal staff. The track of changes have been reviewed, discussed with department directors and vetted by the town's attorney. Comments in red are from the staff, purple are from the town's attorney.
I'm just curious, I know it's the big table. With, Danny's here, well, did you get, whatever you were looking for? And this was caps, right? You were looking at-
Yeah, I didn't get the there, you know.
Yeah, so that's not part of this chapter.
This-
It's benefits, okay, something separate.
Why did we table it last?
Just time.
No,
okay. Okay.
so. I read this over, looked it over, well done. I was one of the sticking points on it was Citibank,
Mhm.
lead of the
And I
Citibank.
have some questions about that, Google and
Not
how.
really like paying out for the Citicon, I know you bank it, you use it, that's fine. But if you bank it. Choose to depart. Termination, I don't think we're obligation to pay out for sick time, vacation time, yes, and PTO. I just don't think the sick time is a benefit for you to be sick, but I don't think you'd be paying for it. To leave the organization.
Okay, so you threw me a curveball there, because when you said sick bank, I thought you were talking about the bank where you could donate some of your unused time to someone else. So you're talking about the payouts.
Yeah, payouts, I'm sorry, yeah, the payouts that if you've accrued X sick time, I don't think that should be zero, it should be paying, right?
It is different than vacation time, which is earned time.
Correct.
You're
The same question that I have.
Yeah.
too.
And so traditionally, we've paid 50% up to the cap of,
I know what that.
360. We're proposing reducing that in order to try to incentivize people to elongate their careers with the town. So we wouldn't pay anyone anything until they've had 10 years of service.
I saw that too, I just still.
It's a lot.
It's a common practice for most places, I mean, if the, like, private sector, you don't pay for sick time.
You use it or lose it.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I really would like to address anyway, at some point, because I think is the vacation time should be all wrapped in sick time, if you wanna do it, do all PTO, personal time. off.
Yeah.
I mean, wrap it up in one
Yeah,
5 days.
I proposed that at one point, because I actually think that's the better system, and that went
I
over.
mean, for the sick time and PTO and one thing,
That
hey,
went over-
that's fine. I think that's what we should do.
The staff was not supportive of that whatsoever, even though I think it's a good idea.
What's the difference? Why wouldn't the staff be supportive of that?
Because Linda just said, you use it or lose it. Well, there are some people who, by God, they're gonna use every sick day that they ever accrue. Whether,
5 days.
whether they're ill or not.
Over the course of,
Yeah, but don't forget the bank, 2 hours.
Maybe we should make them have that letter for the month.
My question, I just don't get.
Okay, so yeah, so I understand what you're saying. So what we sought to do in this was reduce what we're currently doing. It doesn't get down to 0, but it's only 25% up to 10 years. And then 15% after 16 years. So we're trying to reduce the liability for the town. Recognizing that it's not the same as vacation time.
That's how I see it, so.
to reduce the liability, you just have it up front. You use it or lose it. I mean, why are we carrying?
But that's
over-
not, the attitude we want employees to take, Linda. We don't want employees to use their sick time as paid time off simply because they have it. Sick time is when you are in. I understand what you're saying.
I'll see, but lose it. Secure, say, you know, if Brian retired, I don't think we'd be just vacation time, but I don't think we should be paying for the sick time on top of that event. I think the sick time is a perk, it's not like you're gonna pay somebody extra this insurance. Hey,
But that's the
So-
thing, if they don't use it, if they don't use it, then it's there. What I'm saying is if,
Oh, per year, but I just don't think you should get paid out.
Maybe it's cash, right? Yeah, so.
Yeah.
20 hours.
Well, I put my hand up.
I mean, you've already got FMLA, so if they need to have more than whatever, they're covered that way. I don't understand why, you know,
Should that FMLA, is that?
oh, it's coming.
So there's two
And
FM,
MMA testified neither for nor against.
so there's two FMLAs. One is unpaid. That's the one that's currently locked. The second one is paid FMLA, but you have to be approved by the state in order to receive that. So you can't just say, I'm out sick today. I'm taking paid FMLA.
First, you can.
Can you require someone to use paid FMLA? First,
Now, get more, it's no longer your vacation time.
no,
You can't.
no,
Can't.
yeah.
I think you have to burn up your sick.
Yeah.
time.
You have to burn off all your time, I think, first, then you can.
Under this new one, I don't know. That's a good question. I probably should know,
No, you're right.
but.
Well, I mean, I have personal knowledge of a specific case where we think that's funny.
Oh,
Okay, you know, it's, and, you know, where a person's coworker's done get sick. And it was a lesson, later. Okay, so I'm kind of in favor of this. I'm kind of in favor of the use it or lose it, you know, the 5 days a year. But while you're eligible, while you have those 5 days, you can pass it along to a fellow employee. I really want to favor the least that part.
Aspect of that. With what we heard this time.
It is equivalent to earned income, so you'd be paying the taxes on that. And, you know, which is depending upon whatever. But that's one of the things that we would make, donors aware of, and then they would make the decision whether or not they wanted to, you know.
but don't forget, under paid family medical leave, this new law, it's 90% reimbursement. What is it under the current, family?
So
It's very significantly more.
No, the current medical leave act is unpaid. That's what's currently in effect. When the
Okay.
new paid family. But the 90% also depends upon how much you are earning. So that's the top level that you can get. So the more you earn, the less of a percentage that you.
No, under the new one, it's 90% across the board.
Depending upon what you earn, it's not, because I've gone to some training at MMA about this already. And so someone who earns as much as I do, I think the cap is like 70%. So the less you make, the more you qualify to get back through the pay FMLA.
I do like, should be able to get. To somebody in need, employee, especially if they don't.
Yeah, that's,
I'm pro of that. I'm just not pro if you get the sick time left over and they choose to leave, go to a different job. That pay for that sick time, I just don't think that's,
Well, ultimately, you guys decide the policy.
no, I understand.
well, but the thing is if you're earning it, here's the thing, if you're earning it, it's already earned. So that's where it comes into play.
Yeah, but sick leave is different than vacation leave.
Yeah.
Vacation leave is earned leave, sick leave is not, it's just a benefit.
That's how I see it.
Okay, yeah.
I understand if you earn your vacation, and we definitely, that's what we owe and what we're scheduled to pay you out for. But sick time, I don't see it that way, so I just.
Can I just ask, pose a question to you then?
Sure.
So do you would you rather see employees burn up their time? Or would you rather pay out at 50% for the productivity of a full day?
What I would like to see is that they can accrue X from to the next year, and accrue up to a certain cap it, but if they,
And they still get the payout?
no, but you can have it if you need it, if you're sick, so you can accrue more time. But I don't think it's a paid out benefit.
My concern would be that we would lose productivity because then they would take it. Rather, I would incentivize them and say, hey, if you're gonna take it, you're gonna get 50% out of it. To me, I'm getting a full day for, if they didn't take,
I think that's,
I'm only paying 50%.
I think that's where it falls, if you're asking the question, I think it falls into, then you're dealing with the person, your director, or your correct manager, to say, are you sick, and if you're sick from one day, I mean, you put things in policies that you gotta have no out of 3 days, I mean, because seriously, I mean, it's, you really, I mean, I guess anybody can kind of screw the system if they want to, right? But I just don't see it, and it's that specific way right now, and so I wanted to get to what PTO and Anthony's talking about it, because it just makes it much cleaner. That's your time, you know, not differentiating between sick time and or vacation time. It's PTO, it's your paid time off. You use it however you need to. If you're sick that day or your family member's sick that day, you gotta have a day off. That's what you use it. If you're gonna use it for your vacation, use it for your vacation. Roll it up into one, don't segregate it that way, because you're gonna get people that are gonna burn it down, and abuse it if they do. But they're gonna get caught and see
But then you're paying at 100%.
I understand it, just like, I like the way it's cleaner if it's labeled PTO time versus sick time.
Yeah, well,
so now they get,
that's a conversation that we would have to have during collective bargaining. So,
How does this not get into that?
so what we do, so this actually reflects what we did in the EMS contract. And so again, the goal was sort of twofold. One was to incentivize longevity. So you don't get anything until you've been here for at least 10 years. And then the second thing is to reduce the liability by not just paying everybody out at 50% that is graduated.
Data they didn't take, we get productivity and save on, that's how. I understand.
David Costa, live on Memorial Drive, taxpayer. I just wanted to give my 2 cents on the issue that you're talking about.
They can give your previous history, work employments, so can I give some more ratings to what you say, because I didn't know. Your prior employment was the one informed, which gives me a little bit more.
I did 27 years in the fire service, retired from there, and moved here to Maine. I was in a union for a long time, and I got promoted up out of the union and was in management, so I know both sides of the issue. So I just heard that, I think the town manager mentioned that some of this may be in union contracts for the union employees. So from my perspective, from a lot of the people I worked with,
I like what you mentioned, that if you have a use it or lose it, there are going to be a number of employees, they're just gonna use every darn one of them because that's the way they look at it. I'm losing it, so I'm gonna use it. Our union contracts in Rhode Island, all the union people had different percentages. They could accumulate to a certain amount. I mean, they could accumulate 146 days and they would get paid 100% of that when they retired. Now, when it came to management personnel, you can't very well have that for the union people, and then the people that are in charge of them all, you cut their benefit, you cut them off at the knees. So, and we went round and round with a lot of this stuff because particularly the police chief, when he left, he took a $200,000 bonus because they paid him for all of his vacation, sick time and everything else. So they did put some limits on it, but a lot of the limits were, you can still keep accumulating, but when you left, you got paid at different percentages. So like, personally, when I retired, I got paid 100% for 140 days and 50% for everything after that. And my whole point is just be careful what you do, because you're trying to incentivize people to work, and if you do the use it or lose it, they literally, a whole bunch, I mean, some people will come to work, they just love working and they will come, but there are gonna be a lot of them that are just gonna say, you know what, I'm staying home today. And that's hard to police because it's a day here, it's a day there, they're not gonna go to the doctor, and they're gonna get paid for it, right? So if you do work out some deal where they only get a percentage of it, there's still that incentive, because when they leave, hey, I'm going to work because I'm gonna get a little bonus at the end, so.
You know what I'm saying?
I just wanted to throw it out there, just so you think of those kind of things.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
It's that much.
Somebody online?
So, thanks, Dave, that's why I was kind of really steering to something that is just labeled differently, because it just appeared different to me, with the PTO time. You guys are talking about doing that. I mean, most places do it, I don't know how you guys do it, Bruce, where you guys are currently now, I mean, we got, they generally do it. With PTO time, you get X hours, you can back up to X amount, I think that the hours standard what we do. And it looks like a standard boilerplate type, but a capita at what, 280, and if that's what you have, and you have to go over that, you lose it, so. I know that Nelson's on vacation right now, because he said that he didn't use it, he really lose it, so.
Well, I mean, and we do, vacation, we want them to use that for sure.
And it's very bunch of people taking vacation, because that's what it's there for, you want them to be able to go and get charged, just want to be able to come back and be ready to go. I'm not against that part of it, it's just a vacation, or the sick time, I just see it, in my mind, I just see it differently.
And I understand, Jim, and we're probably aligned on our feelings on PTO, because I'm fortunate that I don't get sick very often, and so when I worked in a system that had PTO, I viewed that as more vacation time for me.
How I view it.
But Dave is also right as well, that I'm aware of some employees who they burn that sick time as soon as they accrue it, and then the risk that they run is they actually do get seriously sick, and then they don't, and then there's no safety net for them.
So what if we come up with some sort of scaled accrual and allow the transfer of sick time from one employee to the other?
That
We already
is
have that,
actually,
we put that in.
that is actually in here.
Yeah, we already have that in there,
Yeah.
but I mean, we don't have PTO where I work, but most people, a lot of people do now.
Yeah.
So, and I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, well, it's just clean, it's like,
It's cleaner.
I'm not sick very. Not a lot of questions asked, like, it's there if I need to see that, so I mean, I just think it's just worried that it's just. So, the last 18 years, I don't know, but it's just, in my mind, it's an old thing, I guess, and, you know,
Yeah.
maybe moving towards the future for having PTO time, and, you know, and this, you know, because your wife works at the hospital too, our PTO time is also tied to our holidays, so, and everything's tied to it. If you want this holiday, that's, it comes out your PTO time, so I just think it's, this digital bank account, use it as you like.
But can you then go to a certain, can you say, oh, like, this PTO, you know, 50%? As a.
No, I don't, no, 'cause I don't, I would do 100%, 'cause I think that's the standard for out there now, so you have that, I'm just saying, and I think.
Increase if we pay more money.
Yeah, but you're increasing it another week with the PTO with the,
Maybe, but people may use it too, I just think it's. Like, it's an hour you want, but a sick day, you did, to your point, you know, hopefully used to just say, I'm leaving this spot, I did not be sick today, mental health day, so they're taking it sick. So I just think the wording just for me is, that's hard, man.
I'll just reiterate what I said before, I like the fact that we gain a 50% or 75%, depending on how many years of service they have. For every day they have decided not to take a sick day, we're saving 75%, we're only paying 25% out. Or even if they leave before that time, then we don't pay on anything.
yeah,
So it's a savings on the towns. Or, but it's there if they need it, especially if someone really does get sick or injured, you know, to the point where.
yeah, it is a savings to the town.
Yeah. So I like, I don't know, that's my.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
There's a question online.
Go ahead.
Sandy.
So at work, we do PTO, and you have to use the time you have and you accrue it as you go. And if you don't have it, then you don't take it. And if you take it unpaid. And I think that the incentive for folks would be that they need to work in order to earn the time. And if they don't have it, then they don't get to take it. And if they take it, it's unpaid. That in itself would be an incentive. I get you want to help people take care of themselves, but at some point people have to want to take care of themselves and understand this is the time they have and they need to use it wisely. Us paying them, I get it's a perk, but we're a small town and we can't continue to give these perks like this. You know, you have your time, you use it wisely, and if you don't use it, then it's done. And however you choose, if you want to take the holiday, like where I work, if I want to take a holiday, I have to use my PTO time if I want to get paid for that. And that's just the way it is. I can choose not to get paid and keep it for a day that I'd like off, but sometimes there aren't choices. And I think in a small community, we have to pay attention to our bottom line for the citizens that are paying the taxes here. And, you know, I get it, but we can't save everybody from themselves. These are the rules, you have to follow them. And that would help us in spending. I mean, we have to find ways to start cutting. And this is one way to make it easier to not spend so much money. And it's an adjustment and it will hurt for a little bit, but then you adjust to it. And that's how the normal world works, is that you don't get paid for everything. You have the option to use it, and it's up to you as an employee to use it wisely. And if it's a doctor's note needed, then that can be written in. If you miss 1 day or 2 days, you need a doctor's note. That would prevent people from being out for long periods of time because nobody wants to go to the doctor. So, I mean, there are ways around it, and I get the perk of it, but we have so many perks in this town that we are running out of money, and we need to think about that. That's all I have to say to that.
I'm gonna look at section 6, and I'm just trying to get clarification. Everybody, maybe I did some uses, but I may be confused, but I just saw that 720 hours to accumulate this, and Aaron was trying to point out that you only get paid out 50% of that, and you've been here 10 years?
No, so what's being proposed?
Okay.
Regardless of what your tenure is with the town, you get paid out 50% of your unused sick. That's what is currently being.
Okay.
Under this proposed policy, you wouldn't collect anything until you have at least 10 years of service. After 10 years, then you could collect 25% if you were to leave the town after that.
See how this.
And then once you were past 16 years of service, then you would collect 50%. So you have to work for the town for 16 years to collect what has previously been the policy.
So it's 720 hours per year?
That's, no, 720 hours cumulative accrued, yes.
So we would cut, you only ever pay half of it.
Correct. But after 16 years of service.
800 hours. Shit. That's a lot of money. 320 hours, that's a lot.
No, so people, I understand. So people accrue 8 hours per month. So 8 days per, 8-hour days per year.
That's 6 or 7 weeks just of,
Take 19 weeks to accrue.
300 hours.
You know,
You take 9 months.
12 months, that's 8, that's 12 days.
So it would take. And just double, 320 hours. 8 hours.
Yeah, I'm talking about half of the 7.
Well, it can't, so you don't, and it caps at 720. but
So
what we
it's capped at 720, so you get,
Hold on, there are too many conversations going on and
There's gotta be clarification, so we're capping their sick time at 720 hours.
right,
They can accrue up to 720 hours,
Correct.
that's 20,000 table. But they
Correct.
can only accrue 280 hours and carry over next year. On their vacation time.
That's correct.
It just seems that's a very large number of sick time to carry over year
So
after year after year.
So I'll tell you, Jim, it's pretty standard in municipal government, the 720 hours, because we looked at this previously, if that was too much. And 280 for vacation time was pretty standard.
Oh, I agree, the 280 is pretty standard.
But so was 720. I mean, there were some communities that allowed over 1,000, and then there were some who didn't allow you to carry over any at all.
Well, I guess that's why I feel is if we combine the PTO with that number just looks large to me. And at the end of the day, if that, you know, there's, I don't want to make 50% of it, but it just seems very large. It can carry over.
But no, it does. But, there's a but. It does look large, which means it looks nice,
Yeah.
but it takes 7.5 years to accrue it. And then you're not gonna get paid 50% of it unless you stay for another 8.5 years on top of that. So that means in reality, this isn't a benefit that you're gonna realize unless you're
Capitalized on that for
16 plus years. And the only other time, especially if you're, using, say, if you're sick.
Okay, but let's thank you for that, and it does make sense to me, but still, if somebody wants to be sick for 720 hours.
I mean, there must be something.
There you go, right, that's just seems like it's a lot of time to be out to carry over. You're saying it's a standard, but that's, I guess that's why you hung up on it. If it was PTO, it's all lumped together. So like, I believe most people can carry over, and to your point, vacation, 280 hours. That's PTO, that's holidays, sick time, vacation time. So,
Okay, but there is a safety valve. And that is, no one's using 720 hours unless they've got like a report from a doctor saying Anthony Wilson has cancer and is gonna be out.
it's an insurance policy of something that comes completely different. It's just, for me, looking at 720 hours, and we keep carrying over, and I know you say we can't get there until 8.5 years.
Well,
But you'll get there, it's 7.5 years, 8 years, you'll get there. And you can't use it.
that's good, you took 0.
Right, so that's okay, if you use, but that's Anthony's point, you're not saying that out, then you can prove it.
Well, let Mark say,
8 years.
tell you a different story.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right, Mark.
So I was proud that I didn't use sick time. I didn't use it, I had all time to, and then you're perfectly healthy, and then you get cancer. And FMLA doesn't pay. My sick time used to pay for my FMLA. When you get diagnosed with cancer, everything seems to go to hell. And I'm not gonna lie, from the medical field to just about everything. It's not easy. And what you're saying, I was proud because I never used sick time. I worked with an employee who was here for better part of 15 years and she left with no sick time. She was the opposite of me. She used it as soon as she got it. I don't see where Aaron has hit it right on the head. You're gonna receive your benefit at a percentage over production. You're gonna be more productive when you're here.
I understand that, and I appreciate that, Mark, I'm just saying, I know most places, and it could be here. They don't pay you any Belmont if you've got sick time on the books, you've got to run it up.
You have to use it. And
Right, so if you didn't have it, the Belmont kicks in sooner than that. So maybe to your point, I understand you got sick time, which helped. And the Belmont didn't kick in, but if you didn't have the sick time, the Belmont kicks in because that's what the benefit.
But it's unpaid.
Doesn't
Jim.
matter.
It will be not, but it will be paid. It will be.
Well, if the state approves it, so it's not guaranteed. So right now you could ask for FMLA and it's fairly easy to get, but it doesn't pay you anything. All it does is protect your position while you're away.
In certain places, so that they paid it.
Well,
Insurance, you have insurance for it.
yeah, not here. I mean, all it does is protect your position.
Well, it's coming. It's just a matter of when, and it's gonna be another 16 months, I think, before we can actually take it. So it's gonna be, it'll be a while. If the laws pass, the law is in place. They're going through rulemaking right now. The law's in place. It is passed. So, I mean, I do see what you're saying about the, yeah.
They did pay. But we don't, they take it, you take 100% of that day, sick day.
And I'll speak because I know of people that participants in the PTO that James was talking about, it. Nobody liked it. I'm gonna be honest, nobody liked it that I've ever talked to. It's like this whole PTO, you gotta differentiate between municipal government and the private sector. It's totally different because I can go off on almost every benefit that we have, both private sector and municipal. And I chose this job. I chose my job based on the benefits that were offered to me when I got here. And now that they're all being changed, it just seems a little skewy to me.
Changes never.
I'm not opposed to change it.
Because it was that way always, doesn't mean we don't change it.
If you look at this person up here, I'm probably the least opposed to change, as long as the change is gonna be a benefit to everybody.
Just another question, if we did, like James suggesting a PTO style stuff, that goes into negotiation.
Well, so if you read, let's see. The last sentence of the second paragraph says, if any portion of this personnel policy as it relates to conditions and benefits is in conflict with a collective bargaining agreement, the terms of the bargaining agreement shall apply. And so if we wanted to move towards PTO, it wouldn't necessarily be in a collective bargaining agreement. So it would impact perhaps only non-unionized positions. But even before I did that, it's still the sort of thing that you'd want to get some buy-in from the staff before just simply doing it, because you would just want that as opposed to saying, here's what we're doing, without your input and support. And one of the things that I think makes this proposal pretty solid is the fact that it's been discussed pretty thoroughly by the department directors, and they've suggested changes, and I think and we've reached some compromises that we think that they can support.
The public sector should be investigating down.
It's
So, it should, it's great that he has some sort of good benefits, he likes that, but he also the biggest compensated pretty well for us too, so. You have the yin and the yang, so you have to kind of have, there has to be a balance, right? So we're gonna be ready more benefits, pay more of the benefits.
it just has to be a little bit more on the table, and I just felt that number looks very high. And it
But-
just threw out, and it's very glaring, so that's why I had to ask.
But it's so much lower than what we currently have right now that we've been operating with for however long.
Agree with that? Agree with that. So, okay.
Okay, so it's somewhere between too much and zero.
I mean, I think that.
Okay.
You could, you know, and I know it's not, again, 7 years, I've usually get to that high mark, but I just think it's a very high mark.
Yeah, and of course, that number assumes that you don't use anything during that 7.5.
Well, as Mark said, you didn't use any of this, I don't have it, I'm just saying, it's a high mark.
I have some questions on some other pieces of this. Can we move on to something else?
Yeah,
I know you guys-
still the same.
The holidays. A couple of them I just wanted to ask.
What page is
After
this?
Thanksgiving.
What page is this?
They're not right, they're not,
It's like the
it's the third,
fifth,
one,
fourth,
fifth
fifth.
page and. Day after Thanksgiving,
Yeah,
is that a standard holiday?
The state holiday,
So state and federal holiday.
yeah.
Okay. How about Juneteenth?
All of these are state and federal holidays.
Is that a requirement? Yeah.
It's not required.
No, it's not required. I don't think two holidays.
I think what Roy's probably saying is, him and I both spent.
Schools
most of
get
our
all
lives
that
in the
stuff.
private sector,
I think, yeah.
and we didn't get all the paid holidays. We didn't just get.
I understand Thanksgiving by all means. Just the day after Thanksgiving, just if it's a state and federal, I'm just not tuned into that, I
I
guess.
believe the schools follow the same,
Well, the school, yeah, usually the day before, or a couple days before, or.
well, for, yeah, vacations, but I mean, I'm not opposed to the day after. For Thanksgiving.
If it's the norm, it's the norm.
Would that make it, that's like, what, because it's always on
Especially for
Thursday,
travel.
it's on,
Yeah,
that's the
for
Friday.
family and stuff. That's good. Sounds-
Yeah, but that's part of your PPO.
It's, well, I know, because I was always the one to stop working holidays when I worked, because I was the young one, didn't have kids, right? And I was lucky enough to be able to take my ambulance home while I was there, but I still got paid. Holiday pay. So
It is a good day, to eat turkey sandwiches with me. Day after
You
Thanksgiving.
got to find something that's avoid.
Right, yeah.
But
but I mean, it is an interesting thought, there's, I mean, I don't have them
I
catered.
mean, in my opinion, that's the, you know, following the state and local, state and federal holidays is pretty much the norm on some of the stuff. I get what you're saying, but these are some of the benefits that people don't understand that we have.
I guess that's my.
And that's,
Exactly.
I mean, you have benefits here that you don't have. In the private sector,
Right.
benefits go like this. every year. Well, they're going like this. It's always-
That type
Go
of
like
stuff
this
right
in the
there,
private
that are
sector.
good by-
You get a raise, you're
All of
lucky.
the municipal stuff, Getting a good benefit of being able to sit home the day, no, they're gonna sit home the day after Thanksgiving, because I tell you, I'm not gonna.
So, so Christmas Eve is on.
No, it's not. It's
Christmas
not-
Eve
it's not a
usually is
state
not,
holiday,
that's
it's
not.
federal.
I mean, I don't have problems with this, you know, but again,
Neither.
it's the recognition that we do offer a lot here for benefits and, you know, I mean. So,
Benefits take up a page. That's here. Goes all the way to here. 4, 5, 6, 4 on the next page.
Well, I'll say, I don't think I would never say, well, I don't get it because of that, Get some of them. But I don't think I could use that as justification to say, well, they shouldn't get it because I don't get it.
Yeah, it's in,
I like the fact that we offer these to our employees.
Yeah, I mean,
It's, this is what, you know, this type of stuff should be considered. When we're looking at stuff like employee retention, these are good benefits.
Right.
so So, you know, Roy, you mentioned this to me the other day and I went back and I looked at this and I actually work more time in the private sector than I have yet in the public sector. And there's not a benefit on here that I didn't enjoy as a private sector employee.
Yes, I got you. Good job.
No, I didn't. I worked in a newspaper.
I don't think you work.
It wasn't. It wasn't a great paying job and the benefits weren't, but you know, but I did have bereavement leave, just looking down the list here. I did get benefit conversion at, you know, when I left the organization. There was a retirement and a deferred compensation plan. There was dental insurance. There was, you know, at that time, there was no family medical, but that's the law of the land. I never paid anything.
Our health insurance is not as good as the town.
I never paid anything for vision when I worked in the public service, in the private
We
sector.
don't have insurance as good as us. Are you kidding?
Mine's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
So all I'm saying is that my experience, this is just my experience, but I worked in the private sector a long time. There's nothing on here that I didn't enjoy as a private sector employee.
Yeah, let's get, let's get.
Like to make a
Are there any
motion.
specific changes?
You can certainly make a motion.
Are there any specific changes?
I had never come across saying that I had to apply. I listened.
One other question I had, I made a note, snow days. I mean, there's another benefit that's not listed on there, because, and I know we didn't have many last year, as we should. Is that something that should come as policy at all?
Like schools used to have 5 days built into their school schedule, are you saying that for
Well, I
like
mean-
work days?
Well, they're not getting, because they get paid on snow days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if
Your
it,
salary, but I mean, like,
Yeah.
everybody gets paid. I never got a snow day, I just like.
Well, can I just make a suggestion that maybe we want to do this? If we want to do a little bit more work on that one section, do you want to approve everything else but that section?
Which section?
The one that Jamie was saying, or do you care? I mean, I don't, at this point, I'm good with what Aaron,
This, there's nothing about that. Let's see. Talk about insurance, I might be, bills for insurance, I think, well over it, so.
but
Like, what, these are all facts, and to your point, should we have something written in for snow days, or do we not have snow days? We still open the office. Because, I mean, everyone else drives to work, right?
no, they don't. So the reason, and the reason no one has to register their car when there's 12 inches of snow on the ground. And so,
Sarah made her pretty much, she still has a lot of stuff to do.
okay, but two things, people can work from home on their computers now. So there is that, if, you know, if we want them to be productive. And the other thing is, we don't want to put people in danger, either employees or citizens. We don't want to encourage citizens.
So people would be in danger if you don't go to work.
Okay, but no one's going to the hospital unless they have to. And so.
It's like this. You didn't see what snow day, we're gonna have, right?
Yeah, eventually, yes.
Right. So, and I think if you need to spell it out, make sure that what guidelines are we following?
Is that even
No.
well,
I mean, the guy,
It's at the discretion of man.
I mean, in when we had snow days last year and. Well, how many did we have? It was no more than one or two, it seemed like.
It was very.
I feel that people should be on the road and during an ice storm. That's the only thing with me. I don't feel, I don't want people driving. We don't do that at work. If it gets really nasty out, my bosses say
And so the town manager. does
really
not-
nasty, like ice storm and stuff, you can't.
Alright, so
I just didn't know if you were.
I mean, the town manager consults with the police department, the fire
Make a
department,
motion.
and public works in determining if the roads are safe enough to traverse.
So why do we pay? even on snow.
Seems awfully punitive. I mean, what if we have a big snowstorm and someone didn't get paid for a week?
Yeah,
I've never been paid, I've never worked a job where the storm, unless you were salaried, I can understand that. But if you're an hourly employee, the office is closed, you get paid. That's just my experience, I mean, I get it. There's no work being done. I mean, if you wanna log in hourly or log in and work online, earn it, I have no problem with that. I'm not necessarily in favor of hourly employees getting paid on a snow day if they're not working.
Do our hourly employees have, the capability of logging online to do work or not?
Well, that opens the whole can of worms.
I mean, some
Went through this.
do.
You did? Okay,
We have to, if they have the
Security
ability
issues.
to work,
from home.
then we have to provide them with computer work.
Yeah.
Because we can't compromise our system,
Oh, I see, okay, yeah.
you know,
They'd have to either be,
so that means we have to buy laptop computers for everybody, so they can log in and work. I mean, you have to let discretion be the better part of common sense. I mean, if the
Yeah,
roads are
I'm good
crappy,
with that.
I'm not imperiling somebody to come into work.
I get that.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of that. I mean, we have that policy at work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see a snow day as a benefit.
is it you get paid?
I'm just asking the
It's a
question.
necessary evil.
Yeah,
They a shovel from.
it is, when it.
We,
we're
when,
looking
in
at-
snow days,
when-
we
when
usually
you
work from
reception,
home, but we
that
have
is something
computers
that-
that,
And
you
there's
know.
the students or concerns, anything else?
Not as this stands, I don't see it, but I do think I agree with that. But no, someone can make one.
I'll make a motion to approve the updates and amendments to chapter 5 of the town of Winthrop personnel policy as presented.
Second,
All in favor? All opposed? Two.
Looks like I take a check to review.
No, I'm keeping it moving along.
Good.
Item 158, discussion of the surplus police patrol vehicle, tabled from the October 7th, 2024 meeting. Have any concerns?
yeah, so I'll start off. When we discussed the budget. We went through the whole painstaking sitting here going through the budget line by budget line, people asked for what they needed, what they wanted. They asked for a new cruiser, we said yes. We said, we're gonna get one up for auction, we said, okay. And then that money was gonna go into the reserve funds for the next purchase, the next cruiser. That's where I was headed with it. So, I understand you get letters, and people saying, use it, utilize it, that's great. Budget for next year, we've already passed that budget, it's gone. And really kind of upset at the point that Anthony, that we're using the car now. Putting more miles on it, putting more risk of something to happen to it, not selling it, and I feel like. That was the transparent to you, because you knew our intentions were with the vehicle. And not to come to the table to talk about it, saying, hey, guys. This has been brought up to me, and this is what they'd like to use it for. Versus just going ahead and using it for X without having a discussion. So for me, I'd like to put it out to auction. Sell the vehicle as is, because if the vehicle was no longer in service for the police, I'm not interested in paying the upkeep and the maintenance of this vehicle now. And then when we add to the fleet of something else for the fire department, and when this does wear out or does break, it does no longer in services, are we gonna be buying another vehicle to replace that and replacement spend here? So it's kind of feel like you guys put it in play and say, ask for forgiveness first, second, or permission. So.
the thing, one of the things I have problems with, and I've had them for years, is we've got a situation with what? No, I mean, we've got a situation where we're buying and buying and buying all these vehicles and all this equipment. Do we ever take a look at if other towns are buying some of this stuff at surplus? then why the heck are we selling it when there's useful life out of some of this stuff? We don't have to be down, to the, to the date and the time when we have to get rid of this stuff. I think that we get rid of equipment earlier than we could. And we're not using it. I don't know that. I think that we need to look at that in town and have somebody actually look at what other towns do and what they're using their equipment for and the length of time and hours on the equipment and that type of thing, because I think it's like for this one reason, this could have been used longer. But yet here, we're basically, we gotta buy something new and, we could have used this vehicle a little bit longer. If you're willing to use it now, in my opinion, I think we need to take a look at all that stuff.
Well,
Well, he said we could have used
Use
it.
it longer?
Yeah.
We-
Oh,
I'm saying we could have used it, yeah, we could have used it for another year or two, longer period of time, and we get, these cruisers have 110,000 miles on them and boom, they're out the door. Or whatever it is, and my point is, I think we need to take a look at how, are we getting rid of these vehicles and this equipment earlier than we should? And I get what they're saying, oh, well, it's all the maintenance and stuff, but I can't imagine some of these other towns, because I talked to a few people at the MMA convention. And I talked to them about, they're auctioning off, a couple of the auctioneers auctioning off all this equipment. So why are these other towns buying the stuff that all these other towns are dishing out? You know what I'm saying? So to me, there's some salvage value there that maybe we're getting rid of some of this equipment a little bit earlier than we should.
During the budget meetings. Anything that's is, the big stuff required.
Right.
The justification for trading that in, or decommissioning that piece unit. And then I do mention that the director that discussed that one time it was gonna be earmarked as a EMS vehicle for Chase. So I heard that, I reflected at some point to have that come up again. But so if there was a discussion, different views, and I don't think that issue was ever settled. And then, but the other, to Linda's point, which is why I pushed so hard about, the beach housing or the big 4 ambulances. And they certainly, I think, afford to push that out a little bit. And then, as Bruce had mentioned, looking to alternative chassis that aren't so expensive, which I know are used. So, and, there are places like Scarborough, as soon as their ambulance goes, they literally change out their vehicles at such a mileage. Other towns and cities jump at the opportunity to buy them.
But that's what I'm saying is like, are we doing that too soon here in the town? I think we need to look at that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, one thing to sort of follow up with Linda, I seem to do tonight for some reason. But one thing to point out is like, we're retaining more vehicles so the police officers can take them home. And maybe we could put more miles on it because we have more vehicles available if we have a breakdown. If a police officer's vehicle won't start, just call another police officer that has a vehicle. Where before we maybe had 3 vehicles in the fleet, we have a lot more than that now. The next thing to think about, besides Linda's more mileage, which is a good thought, is if we take this vehicle and we give it to code enforcement officer, fire chief, well, we may not always have the code enforcement officer and the fire chief being one and the same person. So then what do? Buy 2 vehicles, one for codes and one for the fire chief? Have we created a new need for a new vehicle? When that one dies, we have to find another vehicle to replace that one. Somewhere along the line here, employee retention is important and the safety of our citizens is important. Somewhere along the line here, we have to draw lines. We in the past 3 years, I think we hired 3 new positions. And we agreed to the police vehicles being taken home. Okay, and now this is another new use for a police vehicle. Somewhere along the line, we gotta just It's enough is enough.
I would be very interested, I'm sorry. Very interested in knowing what the cost of stipends are. Versus what it's costing to even, we own the vehicle, right, so, there's no more payments on that, so. I would be very interested in seeing a cost benefit analysis in regards to insurance and then also reimbursements across the boards for all the departments. And see what we come up with.
But is that fair to do all of our facility and be really going to?
Well, I think-
fire chiefs, right?
Yeah, so we would see what we pay up
Just
for a fire, yeah, what it was gonna be.
Because if the thing is, then you also gotta add in the registration cost, the insurance cost, the maintenance cost and all that. And I really thought we were trying to get back to those good reserves, right? We want to have some money in those reserve accounts, so if we don't purchase this vehicle, we don't have to finance the whole thing. So $5,000 or $6,000, if you get lucky enough, we get $10,000 for this sucker, I don't know, we get 10 for the last one, and we thought we would give 1,000 for it. But for me, having that, and that bucket to go pay for and put down on a new cruiser when you need another one, that's good, or that's the interest of what we're paying for the, 4 or 5 years on this new cruiser we have now. So, that money would, and I know I spoke of it at the meeting, so I'm willing to approve this cruiser as long as we put the other one up for auction.
Yeah.
And I know I had that discussion with everybody here, and I think everybody was agreeing to it, so again, that was my intent. And I thought that's what the plan was.
Again, if we could have used it, we should have used it longer.
We should have-
If we're using it now, we could have used it longer.
I-
So that's it. You know,
I
if
agree
it's,
with Jamie Lou, and to some extent, the first time I drove by. The parking lot out here and I saw that vehicle out there, it said code enforcement officer,
yeah.
I won't repeat the last expletive I talked to myself about, but it's like. What's going on? I thought we were auctioning off our old vehicle.
Didn't we
Who
create
authorized
a
that?
purchasing policy that had that in it or
Yeah, we did.
That's, was
Yeah.
what happened with the vehicle, right?
I don't recall that being part of the purchasing policy.
I thought we did. Yeah, I think we did do something with that. Anyways, I completely agree with you. I think we ought to be auctioning this off. If we're gonna be, getting new vehicles, you know what? Unless we're using this stuff until they drive it into the ground, then we ought to be, auctioning them off and getting what we can, putting it in a new account for equipment.
But what it does that,
Yeah.
if in
You devil.
3 to 4 years. That comes as a capital improvement. And then. Then we're looking at purchasing a brand new vehicle when we would have had this one available. That's
Yeah, but if,
what I'm worried about.
my whole point is, if it's still good, why didn't we go and purchase
I
that?
agree with that.
And that's my whole point of this stuff. I mean, I'm not agreeing to purchase new vehicles and then having all these other ones, a fleet of cars that we're just gonna go and give to all the different, folks to drive around with. I don't agree with that. Yeah.
I would like to talk.
Mark, I knew.
I just have a couple questions to real quick, and then I'd love you to come on. So first of all, I think that it is important. CEO to have his own vehicle for showing up for code enforcement things. And I have a question about the gear in the back as far as the fire. What kind of gear, and is there any kind of considerations when we have, I think it's like the fumigating room?
Yeah, they can't put that.
Is there any considerations or concerns about having certain types of gear in the back of that vehicle after it's already been to be a fire? And then as well as maintenance, how would that fall under our budget? Would that fall under the code enforcement or would that fall under the fire department? And so that was a couple of things that I just thought of, and I meant to ask you about it earlier, Anthony. But 2 things, pros, cons.
So. Mr. Steele talked about change earlier, there was a big change. Florida is no longer doing plumbing inspections, so I did. That is not really disclosed to me during budget season what the compensation that I was getting for segment for car allowance, not acceptable. This vehicle would be used as a code enforcement command vehicle. Command and accountability of the fire service is one of the hardest things to obtain. And having a vehicle with all of our accountability in the back would be beneficial. As far as gear, it's my gear. I very seldom go into a fire. Honestly, if I'm going into a fire, it's bad. It's really gonna be bad. 30 years of doing it, 58 years old. I don't go in fires very often, but I will if I have to. Again, George Barr was our plumbing inspector. I looked this up because I knew this was gonna come up. From from January 1st till this point, there's been 96 subsurface and plumbing permits issued. 96. They all require a minimum of 2 inspections. Some of them 3, some of them 4. My vehicle is the town covering my insurance when I use my vehicle. And you're paying, last time I knew, it was $1,200 a year. That's less than $5 a day for me to use my vehicle. That's not acceptable. And you're looking at a vehicle, and I can't speak for the police because I don't know their criteria for the vehicles and when they become not the best as far as a cruiser, but would be perfect for a code enforcement / command vehicle for the fire service. I don't know the backstory behind, we need to take this money and put it towards a new police cruiser. That's what you discussed. I'm gonna tell you, I put about 8 miles on this thing, maybe 10. I hardly ever used it. When Mr. Wilson had mentioned that it was some conflict in me having this vehicle, I still use my own vehicle, and I'm not getting my stipend right now because that was canceled when this vehicle was given to me. So I'm gonna go back and ask Anthony and Linda to prorate that compensation. I mean, I don't know, it's a vehicle that's gonna be used, it's not anything that is a super big benefit for me, other than I'm not putting wear and tear, using my fuel, my mileage, and honestly, I've checked with my insurance, to see if using it for my job such as this in a municipality, if it's even allowed. I use my vehicle when I go to a fire call, and I stick it in the middle of 202. If it gets run into, who's gonna be compensated for that? Whose insurance covers that? Probably mine. That's not fair. Because I know the town is just gonna be like, well, you know what, you chose to. If I have a vehicle I can put in the middle of 202 to stop traffic from running people over. Tell me the benefit that isn't the best right there.
Thank you, Martin.
But do you see where I'm coming from? That we should have been told that, or, that you can't just tell us that we're gonna be getting a new vehicle without, and not, selling that. If somebody had said, geez, I'd like to do this and I'd like to do this, it'd be different. But I'll be very hesitant about voting for new vehicles from now on unless I know the full story of what all these people what we're gonna be using this stuff for. I mean.
Mr. Rodney, state about 17, but you did get your license, so at some point you're gonna be asked to give it. So it's kind of 100%, right? I know you said you didn't know that, but and I wouldn't be able to just kind of stagger or anything. Don't know what your stipend is, $5 a day. Mileage and all that. Most jobs that require you to take your vehicle to a site or as a fire department, you do run that risk if you're using it. You're risking on your insurance, whether I take my car at my job and I get reimbursed for miles on it, but they don't. That's a consideration of the wear and tear, the insurance, the gas and everything with it. That's why the site sit there. So for me, this whole thing becomes, we keep adding to the fleet. We keep adding to the fleet, so then the overhead just keeps going up and up and up. So when this car does wear out, or this car gets rammed into and crashed, and then it becomes a part of the town's insurance to take care of it. And then it's gonna be up for the taxpayers to replace that car, correct? Because that's what we provided you guys to have a vehicle.
What about my vehicle, like it's scratched and I have to replace it?
I understand that, but I'm saying that's the risk that you do it when you do the
But I
job.
shouldn't have to. In a volunteer service, a volunteer slash call, there should be some options on the.
But there are some options, you do have the fire truck, that we just purchased the pickup up there, right? So there's that, and then there's other vehicles there in the garage, but I'm saying, but most every volunteer fire department operate under this apparatus, right? Most everybody takes their own vehicle to a crash or to a call. I mean, I know Dave, and Dave was my neighbor, and I know Dave very well, but he takes his vehicle when he gets called, unless he has to go out and get a unit, right? But I just feel like we're adding to this, if you guys needed it, I think it should have been asked for and part of the budget cycle. And it wasn't presented, and I just felt as though this was decided that we were gonna put this up for auction.
I was kind of thinking the same thing, Jim. Why don't we use the fire truck very ill now. And how many miles does that get on it when it only does fire calls? Why keep this vehicle and the continued maintenance and what lose the 10 grand we're gonna sell it for? So why don't we use the fire truck as and then what would be that was, if we're lucky enough, part of the logic for keeping this vehicle is mobility and a command station for the assistant fire chief or deputy fire chief. Well, we already have a fire truck for that. So why are we keeping this vehicle? And if we can put a few extra miles on it with codes, that's fine. Somewhere along the line, and we have got to start drawing the line. People, it's up again. We cannot just keep adding to our budget and keep spending. Once we do this, we're not gonna be able to undo it. When this vehicle quits, we're gonna have to replace it. So I'm not in favor of this. I'm really sorry.
I don't care, I'll take the stuff that's in the bag and, I don't care. It's not affecting me personally, other than the stipend negotiation is gonna be different. When I go back and see it in the morning, and we discussed that, I just, you have to understand, for 29 years, we deputy chiefs were beckoned with the opportunity to have to haul all these trailers that the town has with our own personal vehicles. I have a great suspicion that our insurance companies are not gonna cover us privately for hauling town equipment. So now that we have the pickup truck, is that what you want? You want code enforcement to go grab that every time we go on an inspection? I just want to know, I mean, the direction, I understand.
That's expensive.
And we want to speak.
Yeah, but give me a chance to review the us.
Y'all know who Aaron Rodgers is? Remember a few years ago when he said, relax, RELAX. This is not a hill that I want to fight on, much less die on. So I am going to ask forgiveness because honestly, Jim, I don't recall that conversation during the budget. And I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I don't recall. So that's all that is.
That's usually my excuse.
I'm just saying I don't recall it. I do actually recall. Roy, this is not a purchase that we're talking about, so it wouldn't be in the purchasing models. So all I'm saying is, I don't remember that. Can I get a little grace? I do remember actually what Aaron mentioned about the possibility of making this a chase vehicle for the deputy EMS chief. And so I asked Chief Bostel if he had any use or need of it. He said, no, I actually don't think that we need a second vehicle. So I thought that there might be some use of this vehicle that would make sense for the town. And I, at least in my mind, it was a bit of a financial wash because the amount of money that we spent on maintenance on this vehicle last year was equivalent to the vehicle stopping that Mark was getting. But even with that, this vehicle will get much lighter use than it would as a patrol vehicle. And so that's why it doesn't have any further life as a patrol vehicle. It's because those things are driven much harder than this would be for this instance. Please let me finish. So I am unaware of any other municipalities buying our surplus equipment. At least since, it's only been a year, but in the year that I've been here, it's only been private citizens who have bought any of our surplus equipment. So I don't know that any other municipalities are going to want to purchase this so that they can then use it as part of their fleet. Again, this is not a hill I'm going to fight on. It's not a hill I want to die on. If there's a strong sentiment and consensus among the council that we should sell it, and we'll do that, and I will make Mark whole for his travel allowance. And it's something, you're right, it's something I didn't factor in whenever we did the budget, is that he is driving a lot more simply because of the plumbing inspections that he's doing. So if that's what you guys want to do, let's stop fussing and fighting about this, and let's just decide how we want to approach it, and we'll do that. Please.
Having been a member of the fire department in Philadelphia for many years, I think it's essential to have a command and control vehicle. In this situation, we're not really buying anything, we're utilizing a resource that's available to us. When you're in the middle of 4-lane highway and everybody's flying past you at 70 miles an hour, I want to be identified. I mean, if I was in that situation, the other dilemma that we have is that, we're a volunteer fire organization, and during the day, it's particularly hard to coordinate a scene. You have the availability of Mark, who is our code enforcement officer, but also a deputy chief, who can take command and control of the situation. If you're unfortunately a victim of an accident, timing is essential. Having somebody there with perfunctory medical skills is essential. And life-saving, you can put traffic cones in it, you can set up a command center, tag availability, where every firefighter identifies, and, in a volunteer department, it's very difficult from a command and control. So one thing that I could see would be, the roof or the lid, the hatchback lifted up, and you've got a chalkboard in there that you hang tags on, so you know accountability, who's there and who's not. It doesn't discount the fact that we made a decision as a council to sell these vehicles outright. But I think in this scenario, it makes a lot of sense to utilize that. And I don't think we should invest that much money in what we're already paying in compensation.
I think we gotta use the fire truck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. We're gonna let Roy, and then we've got a question on Logan, and then James.
Me.
So,
That's-
I just want to ask Mark, what exactly goes into the back end? What did you have in mind looking in the back end for equipment?
So Chief Brooks, I laid this.
Yes.
And in this, as Mark had mentioned, mainly this is for accountability, so that everyone can be accounted for at a scene. And so at the bottom of the second paragraph that letter that Chief Brooks wrote, he said that equipped with our accountability equipment and other items such as pre-incident plans of high hazard buildings, spare radios, and the like to be able to manage an incident. And so Mark, I think at one point Chief Brooks mentioned something about there is some sort of board that you guys have to keep track of who's where and when at a fire scene.
It's an accountability board, and it's actually, my son, who also is a deputy chief, is working with the town of Monmouth to try to coordinate and accountability. It's one of the most important things in the fire service is accountability, to know where everybody is at all times. And the way to do it is to have a central location where these items can be placed. So we know where command is and we can justify accountability. It's a tough thing. I mean, Bruce understands that it is.
I understand that. I guess where I'm going with this is, why are we not using pickup trucks?
Because there's 3 deputy chiefs and who gets it?
Well,
Or the chief.
who gets this one? I mean,
So it's gonna be code enforcement Monday through Friday, whatever the business hours are, for the code enforcement officer. And I will probably park it at the fire station because it needs to be parked somewhere where it probably could even fit inside. And the person that might decide to be what we call on call
It's in there.
would have
Do we know that?
availability to this vehicle.
So what's the difference of whether they jump in that vehicle or the pickup?
She said, he said because
It's not them.
the others have
Right.
the vehicle, that's why.
So, but if you're on call as code enforcement, or you're
Yeah.
right, working
They
as
shouldn't
code
be
enforcement.
driving into work.
You respond.
Or
to all
something, you know what I'm
accident
saying?
scenes throughout the.
I don't know, I
particularly
want
serious ones.
clarification
I-
that
yeah,
it's
right.
staying
So
right
You
there.
don't know what a serious one and what a, you know, the faintest.
Do these guys drive,
Yeah,
the
but
vehicles
I guess my point is, you're gonna
outside.
be going to all those.
do they
You
drive the
also,
vehicle outside of?
you know, if you're gonna park it up to the fire
Like, do
station
they,
for
That's a question
other
for
people
Mark.
to
Okay.
use and grab as needed, what is the downfall of using the pickup? I mean, we have a pickup that just sits there most of the time.
Let me use it during the day, that's, I don't know.
I mean,
If it was in the.
if it's a dire need for a code enforcement vehicle, it eliminates adding another vehicle to the fleet to maintain, to replace down the road. We've already put that truck into the fleet. So it kills 2 birds with 1 stone,
So
really.
the code enforcement,
It's a use out of the pickup.
when Anthony approached me with it was strictly code enforcement. Wasn't gonna be fire, and then Chief Brooks said to me, hey, you know what, that'd make a great accountability or another piece of equipment to use at fire scene. So that was post, the code enforcement. Again, it's, you know.
Yes,
If-
I would rather see that put to use, the pickup put to use. And even if it is used as code enforcement as well, I would rather see that put to use than to add another vehicle into the fleet that we eventually have to replace.
So, do you have a question online? I think, Sandy, did you have a question?
So a couple things with this. So when the code enforcement officer is using that and they are at a plumbing inspection and there is a bad accident. So the code enforcement officer leaves the plumbing inspection with the car and the accountability to go to the scene of the accident. Is that what happens?
Yes.
So what happens now?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, as long as the
So-
inspection.
Okay, so the inspection stops, correct? And you now take the code enforcement car with the accountability to the scene of the accident, correct? So,
Yeah.
so you are leaving one and going to the other. So I have 2 issues with this. If it was in the fire truck at the fire station, whoever was there would be able to grab that. And when you arrived to the scene, you could be in charge of it. My other issue with this is that, yes, one, we are maintaining a new car, another car, we're gonna have to replace it when it breaks. That's how it always goes. We have insurance, we have inspections, we have all of that we have to maintain. Then when it breaks, they're gonna want a new one. And my other concern is that if you're using this car as the code enforcement car and the fire department needs it, you're now leaving your code enforcement job to go to the fire call. So are you getting paid for the fire call and getting paid for your 40 hours a week as a code enforcement officer? I'm
Ours is,
feeling, I'm trying to understand here, but as a citizen listening in on this is absolutely crazy. So what you're saying is that you're going to use the car to go do all of your plumbing inspections, right? You've got to have that car because you don't want to use your own car. You're going to be in that car at any number of plumbing inspections when a call comes in. So you're going to leave that citizen as the code enforcement officer, take the code enforcement car that has the accountability stuff in it to drive to a scene of the accident, and you're getting double dipping everywhere. When are you getting paid to be the code enforcement officer, or are you getting paid to be a fire chief?
But
So that's one question. And the other question is, that stuff should be at the garage, at the fire station. Somebody should be accountable. There are a million people that go to those calls. Every week or every once a month, there will be one person assigned. Your job is to make sure that gets to the scene and gets set up. It doesn't need to be in a special car to do that. Somebody's accountable for that and they do their job. Like, we are spending money over and over and over, and this is getting ridiculous. Listening to this is absolutely ridiculous, because what I'm hearing is we're paying our code enforcement officer to leave that job and go do a fire call, and we're paying him to be the fire chief, and we bought him a car so he can drive around and go and do all of this stuff. As a taxpayer, you are spending my money like I have it, and I don't have that kind of money. And shame on you guys for not taking better care of this. You made an agreement. I was there that night, and this stuff needs to be looked at. This isn't your money to spend. It is the taxpayers' money to spend. And you guys are spending it like it's growing on a tree in the backyard. And accountability from you folks needs to be done. Because what I'm seeing here is we're double dipping our code enforcement officer and the fire chief, and he's making out pretty good. And then he's telling us that he doesn't want to use his fire truck on a volunteer fire department, and he wants a car because he doesn't think he should pay his insurance on a car when he took the job knowing that. You know, I try not to get irate here, but guys, think about what you're saying. That's all I have to say, but you guys have to really think about this. The look of this is horrific. It's terrible. It looks poorly on our town government.
Someone just slammed that door.
Thank you, Sandy.
Okay.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay, thank you. So I do think that, one, I don't see this right now as an additional cost. I do see where it could become an additional, should we have to replace it.
Yes.
However, I do think there is utility in the fact that Mark is a deputy fire chief, and I applaud him for doing that. It is not an easy job. He does and has probably paid a price doing it. With his personal health. So I would never in a million years disparage any of our volunteer firefighters. And I think he leaves now, and I think that was one of the reasons we found him an attractive code enforcement officer to be available to respond as expectation also of his job to fire calls. So I just wanted to get that out there. But ultimately, I think if you threw an AED in his car, it has the ability to already have the communications that were in it with Wi-Fi and getting extra connection with in-town stuff. And I think it would be, I do think it would be a useful tool between the emergency management side of this town, which we are required to provide as a service. I do think this would be a way, because I think in the future, this is gonna be a need. I do think we are going to eventually have to acquire something. I don't want to use the fire truck because it's expensive. We're still paying on it. I would much rather than use this car than the new pickup. But there would be an accommodating enough, there would be additional cost because it would have to become a high visibility paint or whatever reflective stuff added to it. But I do think that there is some value in potentially using it in that function. You know, if it wasn't presented to us, maybe it's something that just came and happens to be. I think it's something to consider. But I understand both sides of it. I do see where you may have thought that it was going one way. I think that was communication error because I was never under that impression. I hadn't looked at it that way because I had heard Paul say they were already in discussions with the EMS director about it being utilized as a chase car. You can YouTube that, it was there, it's on record. But again, so that's just my.
Couple things. I do recall the conversation about if we are purchasing another vehicle, we sell the existing vehicle. And the reason why I understand that is because I was the one who made the motion to go out to bid on the vehicle that we did, that we got $10,000. So that's how I know we talked about it. And the other thing too is, you know, I understand where Mark's coming from on some of the aspects of the job with the plumbing inspections. Nobody in town here, no matter who they are, should have to pay out of their pocket for any type of gas or mileage or anything like that. That nowhere I've ever worked do you do that. And
Can I
so,
just say something, Linda? I'm not saying that he's paying for it out of his pocket. He gets reimbursed for that. And I also didn't say anything about his illness. What he has is terrible and awful. But as a town, we need to be financially responsible here. He does get reimbursed.
Thank you, Sandy.
I'm just stating something. I'm just trying to move into what I was gonna talk about. In addition to that, you know, in terms of getting reimbursed, I get that. We already have a truck. The problem I have with all of this was the fact that it was not discussed, and again, I'm gonna reiterate it. We should never have gotten rid of that. We should never have purchased a new vehicle if we could still use this vehicle. We should never have done it. So having said that, we have a truck at the, unless it's used for something else. We already have a truck there. Towing the $100,000 boat or $200,000 boat, sorry, 200. It wasn't 100, it was 200. Which I didn't vote for, by the way. But if we have a truck already, then let's just use that. There's 96 plumbing permits that he's done. That's not, I mean, if you have to get in the car and use it, you know, go
Over a year's time.
over a year's time, it's not extraordinary. And I get with, you know, they are volunteer fire, what? No, so to me, use that truck. And if they have to go on these calls with the fire, whatever, use the truck. Yeah. I mean, in terms of why can't you? Yeah, but he's already gonna be going to the fire.
Right,
He's already gonna be going to the fire. So if he has to leave a code enforcement job, he's already gotta be going to that fire.
Where did the fire truck?
John.
Well, here's the problem with this car. If something happens to it, now we've got to replace it. Now we've got to replace it. And I am not buying cars left and right in this town. I'm not doing it. What was that?
Yeah, but he's
1,900 miles a year.
That's nothing. I drive 25,000 miles a year. That's, yeah, but he's already a volunteer fire, you know.
It's already going to fire.
It's already going to the fire scene, so why don't we use that?
I see maybe some issues. Because I know you rotate, who has that, right? Has that chiefs? Sorry,
David Costa. And I'll put my 2 cents in about pickup just for this reason. And you really should have a discussion with the fire chief, I'm sure his department.
Right.
But just from my perspective, if the code enforcement officer is using that pickup and he's on road, Mount Vista, wherever he is, and a call comes in, say, for a rescue with a boat, something like that. Now that pickup truck's gonna drive all the way back to the station because that's the vehicle we use to tow any of the trailers, whether it's that trailer or the trailer that has the UTV on it. Just food for thought. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you know, I'd like Dan's opinion on this, before I think we've gone down this road quite a bit, but I'm not happy with securing a fleet of cars for this town.
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing.
I think we need to table it. I think
Well,
It's not an action item, so I thought we were just gonna have a discussion here and either I thought we were gonna say, hey, let's sell it, or hey, let's keep it, so.
I have concern about is the budget, when it comes down to delineating the departments, when we're looking at code enforcement, when we're looking at fire. I mean, when we start looking at the maintenance of a vehicle, does code enforcement need to have a vehicle? Is that something that we need to start looking at? Because then I think those should be separate.
And again, there's no misintent here. I just thought that we had an asset that we could get some more use out of. And when Dan proposed, hey, we can get even more use out of it by doing this, I thought, oh, well, that sounds like a good idea. So
I agree.
that's the only intent.
The intent was probably in the right, frame of mind.
So, I've been waiting here, we want to talk and trying to get 2 bits in, right? That's fine. And again, I was upset. A lot of that, like, don't have intention. But when points are being made, and the point being that the stipend offsets the maintenance of this vehicle, I don't know if we're really considering that as a whole.
And we would have to do.
Because you don't do it as a whole, because you're not talking about the insurance, right? You're not talking about the cost of to insurance, right? The registration, everything that makes it is gonna just be added to this vehicle, fleet from them. Because part of it is really, in the end of life of this vehicle, say it lasts 5 years. And then it's just another vehicle added to the fleet, and then it becomes a cost to replace it.
So you guys are misunderstanding me. I'm not arguing to keep it.
No.
But you're arguing to me to sell it. I'm not arguing.
I've heard arguments to keep it or arguments to have a vehicle as such. And for me, number one, we've already done the budget, so for me, that's certainly a closed cycle. And then if you want to ask for it next year, then we can have this discussion again. Not saying I'd be in favor of it, because it's so, I think it's adding another vehicle completely.
Right.
I think it's added to the cost. But everybody wants to say, well, that's how we always did it, and then when I say changes, and then it gets thrown back in my face, but you know what? This is how we've always done it. Then the assistant fire chief has always gone on, code enforcement's always used their vehicle, so, you know, it's only good for when somebody else is saying it, but when I want to say that this is the way that the apparatus in other towns are using it, the other towns have these vehicles, the other towns have a code enforcement vehicle to go do these things. So I understand it as a cost, maybe he's not getting paid enough for a stipend, and maybe that should be evaluated.
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to put that down for Mark, maybe he needs to look at that, because they're always changing that set cost of what's allowed, right? To be reimbursed, because fuel does cost more money, right? But that's all factored into it, and maybe that needs to be looked at. That's just my point.
Again, I'm not arguing to keep
I
the,
feel like they're benchmarking about.
And what we do in the private sector, is if somebody is using their vehicle more than what the stipend or what's reasonably whatever, then that's a little bit different. That's when you whatever, but again, I'm not in favor of adding fleets of vehicles to these departments. I'm just not. But again, I want to be fair to the person that's using their car. And you're right. I think we need to look at the stipends. Is that enough? And what, where is he going?
I mean, if stipends based on mileage, maybe we have to increase it. But
Yes, so we're having a discussion, and then I heard Anthony say that he just wanted to know which way the water was turning.
What time?
So I think as a council, we should send a clear message and give Anthony a directive to either keep the vehicle or sell
And can I just put a question I would ask before you think to make a decision is, excuse me, if you think
Mhm.
in 5 years' time that this position is going to require a vehicle to be purchased, that you need to be thinking of that, because that will be at a much higher expense than as if we retain the vehicle we currently have.
Except for
That's.
You're
You're still at the same cost.
And we replace cruisers on a regular basis.
Right, but those cruisers, again, we could.
And you can, instead of replacing one of those, this thing is still on its last legs.
Replace it.
Or not replace it. I can tell you right now after this, I'm not gonna be and I didn't vote for it anyways, but
I'm sure.
I'm not gonna be, I don't wanna be, replacing vehicles.
Around.
Right, or we could, yeah, exactly, could even do that tactic,
Yeah.
it's totally feasible.
So can we table this tonight and think about it a little bit longer?
Expand.
Well, I think I mean,
What's the discussion? We can move on.
Yeah.
Oh,
let's just,
so just sit there.
I'm sick to death of talking about this tonight. Let's just move on and think about it.
Thank you.
Okay, so I do have one.
Sorry.
just-
Yeah.
No, I do just have one follow-up question. So yeah, I mean, do we want to use it for 2 more weeks until we continue this discussion or not? And if not, I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure that I'm not
Change it.
crossways with you guys.
Keep using it.
Very much.
I'm in favor of not using it. My advisement would be to have a conversation with Mark about raising his stipend to compensate him. And that would be a fixed cost. And when this vehicle dies 50,000 miles from now, we won't have to spend $40,000 or $50,000 to buy another one.
Yeah.
I don't want to create another new vehicle position.
So in please, folks, trying to create a fleet of vehicles or anything like that. It's simply just trying to make maximum use out of an asset that we already like.
That's fine. Down a lot. Hopefully, the sponsor is gonna be busy, that's just my hope. As we forward over the next few years, that I think there's a need, and there may be very much a need, so I just think we have to keep in mind that. I know you're not trying to, but I do think you guys identified, whether you meant to or not, need that the town may have or incur in the future. So we have to think about that before we just say, get rid of it. In my opinion, if you wanna save the money, if you wanna look down, again, strategic. And when I ran town council, that was the thing that I talked about, was when we make purchases, we have to be strategic in how we spend money. Yes, we spend money, but at the same time, we have been very strategic in how we're doing it, and I think we have seen the results have been very good. So I think we need to continue in that direction.
But just out of an abundance of caution, we're not going to drive it until the matter's done. Okay?
Okay, so you're gonna talk to like your directors, and so how are we gonna?
I thought we were just gonna, whether we want to do it or not, right?
I'm fine with that, Jim, but
I already discussed this any longer. I think it's been discussed long enough.
So the motion,
How do we
We
do?
don't even need a motion, he just wants direction, so, and,
It's like-
Andy said no, I said no. You got,
Yes,
you're yes,
Yes.
I'm no.
Bruce,
I'm a no.
and Linda.
Okay,
Go to auction. So then we'll talk about it next budget cycle.
and we will have other vehicles to discuss it with, like you said.
Always you should.
yeah, and in the meantime, maybe an advisement to Anthony, which I'm sure he intends to do anyway, that, be fair with Mark, find a way to, make it
I've
up.
already said I'm going to make that happen.
You did. And
We'll move on.
let me know that we're
Consideration
doing
of the
that.
contract in response to an invitation from Dennis for LED conversion, interior and exterior fixture and town buildings, parking, decorative lighting. And this is in response to the RFPs that we had just used, and we've had 2 presentations so far. This is just, basically confirmation of council.
No, see, it's just a question. That's okay.
You know, 2 lighting companies that we were exploring.
Do we have to have a further discussion, can I just make a motion?
You can
Make a motion.
I make a motion to approve, the original, Affinities contract proposal for the interior and exterior fixtures for the town building, park, decorative lanes, add to that.
I'll second.
I go
Discussion.
The discussion I'd like to have is, and I would like to see, I guess I'm on board with that. Contingent on. Having them. From dumb down the lights in best.
That's in the works. So I've spoken with them about it and Public Works Garage, First Station, and if it's a good building, we'll look at some lower level option.
Lower level, lower cost.
Thanks.
Well, that's what I meant by that.
So I have to add is, do I have to add in dependent upon the contingent upon the grant?
No, so we're we'll have the forum on the 30th. We'll see if that's the idea that bubbles to the top of as to why we want to apply for it, and then we'll go. So this is simply, I mean, the first time that you guys considered this, two of you weren't here. This is sort of a reaffirmation that the group as a whole wants to move forward, as was previously.
Second to approve of the lighting, all in favor? All are in favor. Item 163, consideration of disbursement warrants.
I'm going to approve the disbursement warrants as presented.
All in favor? All are in favor. Consideration of recommendation from the appointments committee.
We have no appointments tonight.
This time. And we'll move on to other business, anything from the public? No. All right, anything from the town council?
So I'm just gonna give an update. I've been monitoring or attending and paying attention to the school board meetings, and I attended the Hearing Homeless Forum, and was able to discuss that police forum there. It was short and brief, because there wasn't many of us there, but she's working very open to, you know, listening to what we have to say and concerns as far as being more transparent in the budget process moving forward. So we're gonna work on ways to publish that and how to make that, you know, be something that's gonna be more open. And she obviously invites us to the finance meetings.
Are you meeting with her?
The superintendent and I talk nearly everything.
Okay.
Anything from any other councilors?
So you're probably gonna get the answer.
I've had a chance to interact with superintendent several times, and I've really have high expectations. So
Do you have any, today was Kevin Doyle's first day, correct?
Don't steal my thunder. Don't steal my shine.
Just switch those two. Next time.
Oh.
Town council, town manager first, then town council.
Oh, okay. Like it.
Oh, that's. You're trying to shut me down.
No, not shut you out, just shut you up. So, okay, so, our public works director started today and I have to say, he had a really excellent first day. I mean, he's already taken care of a ton of stuff, just hit the ground running and already just impressed. And I think he's the right man for the job. That said, we're in the market for truck drivers, plow drivers. So if you know of anyone with a Class A license, we're definitely interested. And not to be at the risk of being accused of spending money like a drunken sailor in Honolulu.
Someone will take issue with statements.
But looking at the MMA job board, there are some communities that offer a signing bonus for those sort of jobs. Is that something that you guys would be supportive of, contingent upon it being paid out over a number of years in order to try to attract some more applicants?
Only if it. Consider that after a period of time, I guess I'll have to look, I mean, are we really critically? Is this a critical position that needs quickly to be filled?
So winter is coming.
So these are plow drivers.
Yes.
How many are we down?
Three.
Okay, so that's a problem.
Okay, what about the incentive of paying for a CDL?
So we can do that. If this were March, I'd be proposing that instead. But yeah, it takes
Yeah, we
a
might.
few months in order to.
That's the problem, we don't plow drivers.
Based on our conversation before, have you thought about reaching out to any of the regional tech schools or anything?
I haven't done that, but I will do that tomorrow.
Contact, it's a program even for.
Yeah, it's a random,
Adult.
Oh, yeah, I've talked to that fellow, so I'll reach out to him to see if they have some
They just-
You have a CDL, Jim?
Oh, there's a plow driver right there.
What sort of a signing bonus would you like? So anyway, so what I'm hearing is that something you guys wouldn't give you heartburn? I'm thinking we'd pay it out over
I
a
think
3-year
we have to
term.
do what we have to do. I mean, because that's,
Favor of the assignments. Being on, being.
Yeah, they'd have to be employed for X number.
Yeah.
At least the first installment.
So yeah, I mean, I was thinking about paying it out, and I'd have to talk with Linda about this, how much of a burden it would put on our payroll processes, but either just incorporating it into their weekly salary or paying it on a quarterly basis or maybe on a biannual basis, something such as that.
Right.
Right. Right.
I don't wanna.
No, we're not gonna do that. So I'm hearing general support.
Well, it's details,
Yeah.
as far as how much and all that.
We gotta move fast.
So that's the thing. We got, I mean, we don't have time. We don't, I mean, right now,
Do you have any suggestions?
I was thinking $3,000 over 3 years. I don't know.
Sure.
Is there, I give up to 3,000, couple thousand this year?
I don't think that's gonna work. I don't think that's gonna work.
So,
I mean, I think it has to be paid that year. As long as they stay at the end of the year, you pay a portion up front. Then you put,
6 months, then get some of it.
yeah, it's prorated over time.
Because the incentives stay on. But you can get some a lump sum for 6 months.
Like half it, spring half it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, then you can stay on, what they say, they stay on, you know.
Yeah, so, and this doesn't have a time frame on it, but for instance, there's a job posting up right now from Kennebunk, $5,000.
So I don't.
Well, it just says bonus. So
Well, it's because it's late in the season now, so that's what we're facing. I mean,
What about us?
we're gonna be talking with the school district.
Josh?
I would be open to that.
You are?
we
Okay,
gotta get on it though.
okay. Well, that's why I'm asking tonight, because we want to jump
Yeah.
on it tomorrow. Okay. Okay.
Sign on to leave.
Tomorrow, we'll be doing some interviews for our ambulance chief position. Jim is gonna help sit in on that interview panel, so he's gonna help us out with that.
To join.
I did not. I mean, we've got 5 people on the panel. Well, so we've got a retired Maine EMS director, Jay Bradshaw. We've got Tyler Arsenault, who is our deputy fire chief and works as a paramedic in Auburn. We've got Lieutenant Hammond from the police department, myself and Jim. So I think we've got a good panel.
So weren't we having a discussion at one point? That when I remember you sent us a letter from Phil that he recommended we appoint directors. So you're gonna boil this down to a few candidates?
No, I'm going to hire someone and then you guys are going to appoint that person.
I would much prefer to join.
Well, what if, but we
This
have
is
to approve
the
that,
town
right?
manager's interview panel.
Excuse me. We have to approve that, right? You're hiring that person.
We are asking you to appoint the person so that they don't end up in a union.
So does a motion.
So we could choose, if we theoretically, if we wanted to, we could choose not to appoint that person
That's
and ask for other resumes.
No, you would either choose to appoint that person or not appoint that person. That is the town manager's hire.
Do we need a motion for that?
No,
Well, we don't appoint, saying it back to. We consider,
Precisely.
if we say no, but we to not appoint, then what happens?
You go looking for somebody else.
so folks,
You work
The-
for us,
the-
sorry.
I understand that, Andy, but
It's.
the
To circumvent.
the ambulance chief works for the town manager.
Yes,
The appointed the council, so therefore it's not just rubber stamp.
So what,
It was already like with the public works director,
Correct.
Anthony made the hire, he had a panel.
Correct. He's recommended to the council.
No, he hires them. Jim is sitting on the
That will
thing.
not be muster when it comes to the union.
Yes, it will.
I
So
think it will.
it
We
will.
did say we do it.
This process has been suggested by our employment attorney in order to ensure that the position does not end up being unionized. So under state law, if there's an appointment involved, then the position is no longer eligible to be unionized.
That's the whole point.
That's the whole point of having the appointment.
No.
We need the clarification.
I will get clarification from our attorney, but this is the exact process that we went through with the Public Works Director and I ran this process by the attorney then.
Did we appoint the public works director?
Yes.
Point there.
So we need to continue.
All right.
Okay, so the library elevator is supposed to be done by Thanksgiving, so that's well underway.
Like to mention, Anthony, that Shannon and I happened to be at the same place at the same time today. And we looked over the elevator work and it is near completion except for the electronics. And they're doing a really nice job.
Good. So we have, as of this morning, we had more than 1,300 absentee ballots. Just a reminder to everyone that ballots are available through October the 31st. And because the election is happening on Tuesday, November the 5th, our Monday, November the 4th meeting will actually be in the small conference room because this will already be set up for the election. Just a few items on the calendar. Let's see, today is the 21st. On Thursday is the candidates forum. Don't forget.
Oh,
I
I'll be right
already
there.
told them I can't make it.
Okay.
I have to be at a workforce conference down in Portland, and I said I might be able to make it late if I get out of it, but I already told them this is a possibility. So
The Community Resilience Partnership Forum is going to be the following Wednesday on the 30th.
Give me the 1.5, send me a few comments.
And then trunk or treat, of course, is the next night during Halloween. And on Wednesday, I will be spending some of the day at the MMA participating in the latest meeting of the Legislative Policy Committee. So if you're trying to reach me, you may not.
when is that?
That's Wednesday, so I may not be able to get back to you directly, but I will as soon as I
Wednesday,
can.
this Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, you and I need to talk for that.
Is there anything else, Anthony?
That's it.
Oh,
I
God.
just have one quick question just to follow up on the elevator. Do you have any idea if that's on budget or?
So, with the capital reserves that we set aside for the library, we're not going to exceed that amount. But we may have to hold off on the drainage project for another year.
Thank you.
Andy, I'm going to talk about it, but how you doing with the real estate stuff?
Good, so, you saw that 17, Royal Street, we, got word from the Maine Housing Authority, which had a lien on the property that they don't have any interest in, so we're able to move forward with that as soon as we get past the 90 days.
I'm good.
Process, and then the 2 weeks after that, it was like, so that's the process with all the properties that we have. Yeah.
And certain things coming out, and obviously it's all depending on
Well,
what.
We're kind of on the same page about all this stuff.
Yeah, I'm also, I'm good.
Say 4056, and acquisition of real property or economic development.